Chapter 1202. This lady can actually summon the karmic fire to hurt her enemies. Ning Fan's expression changed slightly. The karmic fire was just too famous. The karmic fire in his body was said to be unparalleled in the world. However, it was still within the scope of fire after all. The karmic fire was different. It only existed in legends, and it had already surpassed the existence of fire. It was on a completely different level compared to fire. The karmic fire was not something that a second-step cultivator could control. Of course, the Red Lotus could not do it either. If Ning Fan was not mistaken, the Red Lotus could only use an extremely small amount of the power of the karmic fire. The karmic fire was a flame that could eliminate sins. It would weaken in the face of kindness and become stronger in the face of evil. It was the supreme technique of the Buddhism sect. It was also one of the common methods used by the saints of the Buddhism sect to subdue the ancient devils. Ning Fan had never been a kind person. His path of cultivation could be said to be a bloody one. He had committed monstrous sins. He had a method to kill people without being tainted by karma. However, it did not mean that he could get rid of the karmic fire. Killing people without being tainted by karma was just deceiving the heavenly Tao samsara and cutting off the connection of the heavenly secrets. However, it was just deceiving but not completely eradicating. His sins would not be cleansed even if he deceives others. Moreover, the karmic fire did not simply hurt people using the karmic fire. It used the karmic fire as its fuel, but it was an existence that was higher than the karmic fire. Even though Ning Fan was not afraid of the karmic fire, he did not dare to say that he was absolutely not afraid of the karmic fire. If there was really a trick to face the karmic fire, the Buddhism cultivators of the past would not be afraid of the punishment of being burned by the karmic fire. Facing the karmic fire, Ning Fan once again felt restrained. His ocean-defying sword was restrained by the Red Lotus. His sins were also restrained by the lady. He had always been the one restraining others. However, at this moment he was restrained everywhere. He did not like this feeling of being weak. If this lady is a saint and attacks me with an infinite amount of karmic fire, perhaps I can only accept my fate. Unfortunately, she is not a saint. The amount of karmic fire she summoned is too little. Ning Fan leaped into the sky with a ruthless expression and rushed towards the Red Lotus. Cross-shaped halo activate. Eternal true body, appear. The illusory God-vanquishing shield transformed into the left hand of the true body. With a thought, the shield became infinitely larger, and the surging hellfire was actually blocked by the God-vanquishing shield. If the karmic fire will harm me by touching it, then I shall not let the karmic fire touch me. Impossible. Even though I only summoned a small amount of hellfire, it's impossible for even a mid-grade congenital magic treasure to block the hellfire. That shield of yours is clearly not even a magic treasure, so how could such an illusory thing possibly block the hellfire? Red Lotus was shocked to the extreme. Originally, she planned to show her strength to Ning Fan at the beginning of the battle. Thus she used her trump card, the karmic fire. However, she did not expect that her karmic fire could not penetrate Ning Fan's defense. This isn't a shield shadow. This is a shield soul. You won't understand. Ning Fan's eyes turned slightly gloomy. His golden body held the illusory shield. It was as if he had returned to the time when the God-exterminating shield slaughtered all his enemies. The shield had died for its master, and its soul still existed. Even if it was just a shield soul, it was still a heaven-splitting soul. Furthermore, it was a soul that was famous on the heaven-opening roll. How could such a small amount of karmic flames burn his soul and destroy his existence? Shield charge. Ning Fan turned into a ray of golden light. With the shadow of the God-exterminating shield in front of him, he directly charged at Hong Lian like a cannonball. This was a technique that he often used in the past. Now that he was using the God-exterminating shield to attack and defend himself, he naturally used this technique. The sea of flames of the karmic fire was easily penetrated by a ray of golden light. It could not stop him at all. Subconsciously, Red Lotus wanted to avoid Ning Fan's charge. No one would be willing to be hit head-on by a raging bull. However, her pride did not allow her to retreat, not even if it was just dodging. She wanted to fight Ning Fan head-on and defeat him with brute force. Only then could she vent the hatred in her heart. Karmic fire, gather. Hong Lian waved her palm, and the sky-covering karmic fire immediately rolled back to her. Since she could not burn Ning Fan, she decided not to burn him anymore. Otherwise, it would be a waste of the flames. The karmic fire began to gather on her palm. In an instant, it actually condensed into a wind lantern that was engraved with the pattern of an 8-petaled lotus flower. It turned out that the karmic fire that Hong Lian summoned was just a small flame in the wind lantern. No wonder there were so few of them. The shape of the wind lantern had many decorations of the Buddhism sect. It looked like a lantern that was used by the monks in temples to light up the place. It was unknown where Hong Lian got her hands on such a thing. The lantern itself was not a magic treasure. It was just a tool that used the karmic fire to light up the place. Of course, in order to not be burned by the karmic fire, the materials used to make the lantern were all rare materials in the world. They looked like wood and gold, but they were not. They were actually materials that did not belong to the 5 elements. Using the karmic fire to light up the place, and using materials that did not belong to the 5 elements to make a lantern was certainly not something that any temple in the Dharma-ending era could offer. It was probably something that only existed in the true world. As soon as Hong Lian displayed her ability, the lantern immediately grew in the wind. The pole that carried the lantern instantly extended to 1,000 zhang long. This was exactly the distance that the cross-shaped halo could lock onto the enemy. She did not want to give Ning Fan any chance to get close to her. Just like that, she held the pole and swung the lantern at Ning Fan fiercely. Her posture did not have the demeanor of an immortal. Instead, it was filled with brutality. Boom! Under that single blow, both of them were sent flying backward. Hong Lian was pushed back less than 100 steps by the force of Ning Fan's collision. Inwardly, she was shocked by the strength of Ning Fan's strength. It was completely different from his weak appearance. Ning Fan's golden body was sent flying for a few hundred steps. His physical strength was not as good as Hong Lian's. It was not the god-exterminating shield that lost to this broken lantern. Instead, it was Ning Fan who lost. I have already seen through all of your heretical methods. Are you trying to use this collision to get closer to me and secretly use your bewitching technique? Dream on. You won't have the chance to sneak attack me again. Hong Lian smiled proudly. She displayed her ability and also activated her eternal true body. This time, she would not underestimate her enemy anymore. She wanted to crush Ning Fan with her strongest and most powerful strength. Hong Lian's true body was not in the form of a human. Instead, it was a scarlet-red giant ant that was hundreds of thousands of zhang long with 1,000 legs. The giant ant was holding the karmic fire lantern in its mouth. As soon as her true body appeared, Hong Lian's chi immediately skyrocketed. Her magic power surged to the level of 1,000 Tribulation Realm, and went straight to the level of 15,000 Tribulation Realm. However, this was not the end. Immediately after that, she activated her second stage true body. The appearance of her true body changed again. It became even more ferocious and ferocious. Her body was surrounded by raging flames, turning her into a fire ant. Under the effect of her second stage true body, Hong Lian's chi skyrocketed again. Her strength was comparable to a quasi-saint realm expert with 16,000 Tribulation Realm. Second stage true body, huh? This lady's true body is so gigantic. I can't lock her entire body even if I use the cross-shaped halo to lock her within 1,000 zhang. Even if I fight her in close combat, I won't be able to gain any advantage. The shell of her true body is even tougher. It seems to be able to defend against heretical methods like bewitching techniques. Ning Fan frowned. He knew that there was no way he could use any tricks in this battle. He could only use force. Do you think this is my strongest form? You're wrong. Ancestral Ant Force, activate. Hong Lian sneered. She could actually continue to become stronger. A golden armor appeared on her giant ant's body. That armor was not a physical form. Instead, it was condensed from the soul power of the Daohun clan. It was a soul armor. Ning Fan's expression immediately changed. Previously, the ghost flower of the netherworld had told him the secret of the ancestral atavism technique of the ancient devils. At the same time, it also mentioned some of the supreme secret techniques of the other clans. The ancestral atavism technique was the supreme secret technique of the ancient Devil Clan. Just like the ancient Devil Clan, the supreme secret technique of the ancient Divine Clan was the God Sealing technique, while the supreme secret technique of the ancient Demon Clan was the Spirit Armor technique. The Dao Hun Clan and the ancient Demon Clan were polar opposites. Their supreme secret technique was similar to the ancient Demon Clan. It was called the Soul Armor. As the supreme secret clan, the Soul Armor was naturally not something that any member of the Dao Hun Clan could cultivate. At this moment, Hong Lian was completely relying on the remnant power of her ancestors to forcefully summon the Soul Armor. It was not her own technique. Such a half-baked soul armor would certainly not be heaven-defying. However, it was enough to further improve Hong Lian's strength. With the help of the soul armor, not only did Hong Lian's defensive power increase tremendously, but she could also be immune to more sneak attacks of the heretical methods. Needless to mention the bewitching techniques, she could directly use the power of the soul armor to reflect the attacks. Immobilization, dizziness, poison, and a series of heretical methods would greatly reduce the damage they could inflict on her. Now Ning Fan's heaven-sealing technique was no longer a threat to Hong Lian. Is this the result of a true quasi-saint going all out? I've fought against the soul-sucking tree, the fusion quasi-saint of the Light Ant Clan, the princess of the Light Ant Clan, and the corpse slave king. It's not that these people aren't strong, but they all have their own flaws, which gave me all kinds of opportunities to defeat them. Even though the corpse slave king is strong, its spiritual intelligence is too low and it lacks techniques. Therefore, it can only fight with brute force. Compared to Hong Lian, the fusion quasi-saint of the Light Ant Clan shouldn't be considered as a quasi-saint at all. As for the soul-sucking tree and the princess of the Light Ant Clan, both of them are half-baked quasi-saints. Hong Lian is different from them. She represents the strength of a first-level quasi-saint during the age of Dharma decline. This is the true strength of a quasi-saint. In the face of Hong Lian's complacent laughter, Ning Fan's mind became more and more clear-headed. His past achievements in defeating quasi-saints seemed to no longer be worth mentioning. Only by defeating Hong Lian would he truly have the qualifications to be on equal footing with a quasi-saint. His personal strength was not as good as Hong Lian's. Fortunately, summoning ghost soldiers was also a part of his overall strength. Therefore, he also had some advantages over Hong Lian. Not bad. Compared to before, you are much smarter now. You know to go all out at the beginning of the battle. However, you are still as careless as before. You don't seem to have noticed that I've done something to the heaven and earth of this place. As Ning Fan's voice fell, billions of sealing runes suddenly appeared between heaven and earth, completely sealing off the heaven and earth around Hong Lian. Seal the heaven and earth. You're despicable. You actually sealed off the heaven and earth of this place, and intentionally waited for me to come. No wonder. No wonder you didn't leave and waited for me to come. At first, I thought you were just being arrogant. So, that's why. Do you dare to fight me fair and square? As soon as Hong Lian saw the surrounding heaven and earth being sealed off, she was instantly enraged. She knew that she had fallen into Ning Fan's trap again by recklessly rushing here this time. Sealing the heaven and earth did not only cut off her path of escape, but also cut off the connection between her and the entire 13 vertebrae. Of course, Hong Lian did not think that she needed to escape in order to deal with Ning Fan. However, the fact that he cut off the connection between her and the entire 13 vertebrae really hit her weak spot. The existence of the 13 vertebrae was similar to the nest of an ant lord. She could borrow the enormous power of the nest to easily kill Ning Fan. The reason why she was confident in killing Ning Fan and taking revenge was not because of her own great strength, but the power of the entire 13 vertebrae. However, Ning Fan was too cunning. He actually cut off the connection between her and the world of this place, causing her advantage of borrowing the power of the world to disappear in an instant. She had lost her advantage. She did not expect that Ning Fan actually knew so much about the nest of an ant lord. It was obvious that it was not his first time seeing the nest of an ant lord. So what if you sealed the heaven and earth? I can still kill you. Karmic light threads, shoot him. Hong Lian actually drew out the light of the karmic fire from the lantern, turning it into billions of karmic fire light threads and shooting them at Ning Fan. This kind of ability to draw light to manifest her divine ability really lived up to the name of the Light Ant clan. Since his opponent used light to attack him, Ningfan naturally responded with darkness. The power of the dark yin and yang was activated at this moment. However, his darkness was completely no match for Hong Lian's light. It was not because the darkness was restrained by the light. In other words, there was no true restraint in this world. Water could extinguish fire, but fire could also boil water dry. The Life Slayer sword was said to be able to suppress undying beings. However, if the undying power of the undying is strong to a certain extent, the Life Slayer sword might be suppressed instead. The key to restraint was to break the balance of power and gain the upper hand. If one does not have the upper hand, they could only be restrained. Having studied the Tao of Yin and Yang for many years, Ningfan had already understood this principle. His darkness was no match for Hong Lian's light. He used the ancient Devil Mountain breaking strike, and used the momentum of thousands of consecutive attacks to attack Hong Lian. However, he could only leave a few cracks on her soul armor. The defense of her soul armor was too strong. The sea-defying sword was strangely suppressed by Hong Lian's karmic fire lantern, which could easily dissolve half of its power. The immemorial lightning cauldron, sea-calming divine needle, 7 treasures wondrous tree, flame lightning fire, sun moon star steel. Ningfan used all of his mid-grade innate realm techniques. The battle lasted for 2 days and 2 nights. During the battle, the offensive power that Ningfan displayed made Hong Lian more and more shocked. Gradually she had a bad feeling. Without a doubt, the strength of this dog in front of her was not as good as hers. However, why did he have so many trump cards and techniques? A single mid-grade innate realm attack was not enough to make Hong Lian fearful. However, when multiple mid-grade innate realm attacks were stacked together, she found it a little difficult to endure. Her half-baked soul armor was not invincible. After being attacked by Ningfan for 2 days and 2 nights, there were already some cracks on it. However, as long as her soul armor was not really broken, she could remain unharmed. On the other hand, Ningfan was in a miserable state. The God-vanquishing shield only had a shadow left after all. It could not protect him from being damaged at all. After fighting for 2 days and 2 nights, Ningfan had long been beaten to the point that he lost his human form? This is impossible. Wasn't this dog on the verge of death after being beaten by my second stage true body? How did he recover from his injuries after taking a few bites of the Netherworld Ghost Flower's root fluid? Wait. Since when did such a terrifying blood vapor come out from this dog's body? Isn't this the first stage of the ancient devil ancestral atavism technique? This young man actually has such a terrifying healing technique. Wait a little longer. When did this dog summon the Netherworld Ghost Flower? He can actually summon this kind of forbidden plant. As a disciple of the chaotic Kuran sacred sect, how dare he ignore the laws of the 3 realms and collude with the Netherworld Ghost Flower? When Hong Lian first arrived, Ningfan had already removed the summoning of the Netherworld Ghost Flower. He did not want to let Hong Lian know that he still had such a powerful trump card. After fighting for 2 days and 2 nights, Ningfan had always been at a disadvantage. His injuries were getting more and more severe. Left with no other choice, Ningfan finally decided to use what he had learned on the spot. He used the first stage of the ancestral atavism technique, which he had just learned not long ago. With the help of the saint's blood that the Netherworld Ghost Flower transmitted to him, he healed the serious injuries on his body again and again. He had been fighting against Hong Lian for 2 days and 2 nights, but he did not summon any ghost soldiers at all. At most, he only used the ancestral atavism blood to heal his injuries. This was to measure the gap between his strength and Hong Lian's. He wanted to remember the gap in their strength forever, and use it as a warning. There was enough saint's blood in this place which could help him heal his injuries at an extremely fast speed. If he continues to fight like this, he would be able to completely destroy Hong Lian's soul armor in another 10 to 15 days. After that, he would probably be able to severely injure Hong Lian's ancient true body after a few more months. Even though his strength was not as good as Hong Lian's, it did not mean that he would lose. Unfortunately, Ningfan did not have that much time to waste with Hong Lian. As the saying goes, A long night is fraught with trouble. If he drags on for too long, unforeseen events would inevitably happen. Perhaps the Light Ant clan would receive reinforcements, or perhaps Hong Lian would also destroy all the seals of heaven and earth in this place and escape. Ning Fan had been fighting Hong Lian all this while, not giving her the chance to destroy the seals of heaven and earth in this place. However, the shockwaves from their battle were extremely violent. Just the impact of their attacks was enough to continuously weaken the seals of heaven and earth in the surroundings. I have to admit that you are very strong. Even though your strength is pitifully weak, your techniques have offset the gap between our strength. It seems like it is a little unrealistic for me to kill you with my own strength. Since that is the case, I might as well destroy your seals of heaven and earth and reconnect with heaven and earth. Hong Lian was tired of fighting. The fact that Ning Fan's injuries were healed in an instant was a heavy blow to her. She knew that if she continues to fight against Ning Fan, she would definitely be the one to suffer losses. Thus, she decided to use her last trump card as well. Lotus Seed Clone appear. All of a sudden, she summoned 3 Lotus Seed Clones and launched a pincer attack at Ning Fan. She was trying to use her clones to slow Ning Fan down. These 3 Lotus Seed Clones only had the cultivation base of Half-Saint Realm experts. Their strength was far inferior to the Half-Saint Realm Split Saint Realm expert, who self-detonated earlier. However, it was still possible for them to slow Ning Fan down during a surprise attack. As long as the 3 clones could hold Ning Fan back for a moment, she would be able to destroy the seals of heaven and earth in this place and reconnect with the world. Then, she would be able to kill Ning Fan with the power of all 13 vertebrae. Summoning clones, huh? Ning Fan sneered. He had long been prepared for this trick of Hong Lian's. Almost at the same time when the 3 Lotus Seed Clones appeared, Ning Fan gave an order. 4 ferocious undying ghost soldiers tore the hollow space apart and showed themselves, surrounding Hong Lian once again. When he summoned the ghost flower of the netherworld to heal his wounds, he had also secretly summoned the undying ghost soldiers. They hid in the boundless hollow space and were on standby. It was not necessary to summon ghost soldiers openly. Sometimes it would be more effective to use ghost soldiers to launch sneak attacks. Corpse Slave King. You actually turned your Corpse Slave King into a ghost soldier. Moreover, you even have a Half-Saint Realm subordinate who is a soul-sucking tree. This time, Hong Lian really felt that something was amiss. Putting aside the soul-sucking tree, the existence of the Corpse Slave King really frightened her. As one of the leaders of the Light Ant clan, it was impossible for her not to know how strong the Corpse Slave King was. Even a monster with such blood and chi was killed by Ning Fan and turned into a ghost soldier. Could she really defeat him? Ah! 3 blood-curdling screams suddenly resounded. Surprisingly, Ning Fan had used the immemorial Rainy Night illusion technique to instantly kill the 3 clones of Hong Lian. The clones of Half-Saint Realm experts might be able to slow down the other Half-Saints, but they could not slow down Ning Fan. As long as they are not Half-Saints, it would not be difficult for him to kill them. Why, you actually killed 3 Half-Saint Realm experts with a single move. This is impossible. Half-Saint Realm experts are not trash. Even I can't do this. Hong Lian was shocked by Ning Fan's ferocious method of killing them in an instant. Her heart began to feel cold. She felt that Ning Fan had concealed his true strength. In the previous battles, he had purposely pretended to be weaker than her. Now he finally revealed his true strength. Hong Lian, I've said it before. You are my human cauldron. You can't run away. After eliminating the 3 clones of Hong Lian, Ning Fan turned around and attacked her together with the 4 ghost soldiers. One day later, Hong Lian's soul armor was shattered. Another day passed. Hong Lian's 2nd stage true body was forced back to the 1st stage true body. Then her 1st stage true body was also destroyed. Hong Lian, who was on the verge of death, no longer had the strength to resist Ning Fan's capture. She was then locked in a wooden cage by the divine tree that he summoned. Hong Lian realized with grief and indignation that Ning Fan still had a trump card which he had only used at the very last moment. Lord Realm. This was definitely a Lord Realm with Dao Law. Otherwise, even if she was on the verge of death, she would still be able to break this wooden cage. This cage doesn't even have a magic technique, alright? It's just that its body is unusually tough. You. Despicable. Along with Hong Lian's curses, Ningfan planted layers of restrictive spells on her and locked her in the profound Yin world. The second quasi-saint human cauldron was finally in his hands. Another quasi-saint human cauldron has been captured. The old ancestor of Lei Zhe no longer knew how to describe his current feelings. How long has it been? How many quasi-saints of the Light Ant clan had Ningfan defeated? Are the quasi-saints who stood at the peak of the Dharma-ending era so weak in front of Ningfan? This young man really doesn't seem to be a great cultivator from the ancient times. However, his strength is really strong. Without any tricks, he only relied on various methods to beat the high and mighty Hong Lian to the brink of death and capture her alive. What else could the old ancestor of Lei Zhe say? He knew that he would not be able to do such a thing. This is great. Brother Hero has captured Hong Lian, that dog thief. Now we can go deeper into the spine to adventure. The sludge monster cheered excitedly. Deeper into the spine? What do you mean? You seem to know this place very well. Ningfan was slightly surprised. He returned to his original form and landed on the ground. Then he asked the sludge monster. Brother Hero doesn't know that this is where the spine of the Lord Ant is located? Then how did you barge into this place to save me? The sludge monster widened its large and adorable eyes in bewilderment. If I tell you that I barged into this place by accident, would you believe me? Ningfan smiled bitterly. Could this be what those virtuous saints mean by doing good deeds without leaving their names behind? Brother Hero has come all the way here to save me, but you don't want to get my gratitude. That's why you told me a white lie. The sludge monster admired Ningfan even more now. It began to imagine Ningfan's great personality crazily. Forget it. You can think whatever you want. First, tell me where exactly is this place. Also, don't call me Brother Hero anymore. All right. Brother Hero. Understood. Brother Hero. My name is Feng Zhao. The Feng from Feng Lai and the marsh from Feng Lai. So, you just want to emphasize that there's a Feng Lai, right? Comparing yourself to a noble and beautiful phoenix. This lump of sludge is really narcissistic. Get to the point. Oh, this place is called the 13 Vertebrae. Speaking of these 13 vertebrae, it's a long story. Then make it short. All right. Brother Hero. Understood. Brother Hero. Chapter 1203. The sludge monster solemnly pulled Ningfan to the side and activated a soundproof barrier. Then she told Ningfan everything about the 13 vertebrae. There was a reason why she was being so careful. It was because the 13 vertebrae were related to too many secrets of the true world. It was not suitable for many living beings in the illusory dream world to know about it. According to the legends, there were 3 real worlds outside the illusory dream world. The mortal world, the defying earth realm, and the mountain and sea realm. The mortal world was the territory of the Taitsong Jieling. The defying earth realm was constantly embroiled in wars between immortal kingdoms. Even the former Zido immortal domain could not unite the entire defying earth realm. The mountain and sea realm was the dojo of the ancient sacred sect. The Dao Soul clan in the world was ruled by the ancient sacred sect. It was the strongest force among the 3 great true worlds. The story of the Lord Ant happened in the mountain and sea realm. A long time ago, the light ants did not exist in the world. Then a lucky ant was enlightened by Saint Defier, the ancient sacred sect. Due to his gratitude for the saint's kindness, he followed him and performed countless meritorious deeds for the saint. In the end, with his meritorious deeds, he was reborn and became a saint. Most of the saints who became saints through virtue were weak. However, there were also exceptions. This ant was one of them. She had only undergone 74 nirvanas and reached a profound cultivation base of 10 eras. Such progress had amazed the entire true world. Based on her cultivation speed, as long as she did not make any mistakes, it was highly possible for her to break through the incipient saint realm and step into the nirvana saint realm before undergoing 1,000 nirvanas. This ant was highly likely to become an inspirational example of a saint of virtue who changed his fate. However, fate played a huge joke on her. Somehow, she provoked a nascent soul realm junior, who claimed to be the strongest nascent soul realm cultivator in all of history. After that, she was suppressed by this nascent Soul Realm Jr. for 10 eras. This ant was the Lord Ant, the founder of the Light Ant clan and the Sacred Ant sect. The nascent Soul Realm Jr. was the omniscient old man. This incident had made the omniscient old man infamous in the true world. Of course, the cultivators of the illusory dream world in Ning Fan's world were unlikely to know about the omniscient old man's name, because the omniscient old man suppressed the Lord Ant after the Purple Doe immortal domain was destroyed and the illusory dream world was isolated from the rest of the world. The sludge monster narrated the story of the all-knowing old man vividly and vividly, especially the battle where the all-knowing old man suppressed the Ant Lord. She even described it as a shocking battle that destroyed the era of samsara. She tried to see a hint of shock on Ning Fan's face, but unfortunately, there was none. Ning Fan actually listened to her story with a calm expression. No, it would not be accurate to say that his face was calm. Ning Fan still had a hint of surprise on his face. However, that surprise was just too little. His facial expression only changed for a little bit before he calmed down again. This wasn't normal. Too abnormal. Normal people would be shocked to the point of sweating when they heard that a nascent soul cultivator had defeated a sage. Brother Hero, aren't you shocked to hear that a nascent soul suppressed a saint? Aren't you surprised? The sludge monster was speechless. It is a little shocking. You're lying. Well, Ning Fan was indeed not that shocked. He had seen ancient Chaos Martial Emperor and the omniscient old man. The pressure that the omniscient old man gave him was no less than ancient Chaos Martial Emperor. He already knew that ancient Chaos Martial Emperor had killed sages, and he did it more than once. Therefore, he was not too shocked about the incident of the omniscient old man suppressing a sage, even though he was a little surprised. He had seen the primogenitor of the wilderness, desolate Saint Dao Manshan. He had received immortal sovereign Zido's teachings many times. He had fought against the underworld and even fought side by side with the desolate Saint Kai Wei of the underworld. He was the barbarian god of the barbarian race. Once he enters the true world, he would have the right to command the sages of the barbarian race. He was one of the few divine beings in the world, and he was also the father god of a generation. If it was the era of gods, the identity of the father god would be comparable to that of a desolate saint. Unknowingly, Ning Fan's knowledge and experience had reached an extremely high level. There were already too few things that could shock him. What happened after that? Ning Fan asked calmly. The sludge monster did not appreciate Ning Fan's surprised expression, and was a little disappointed. However, when she thought about it again, she realized that her brother Hero had such a calm and steady temperament. Shouldn't she be happy and worship him? Thus, in the blink of an eye, she worshipped Ning Fan even more. Her eyes sparkled with even more stars as she explained. Later on, my master divided the Ant Lord's physical body into 10 parts and suppressed them in 10 different samsara realms. I also don't really understand these third-step suppression methods. I only know one thing. The part of the physical body that is being suppressed in this samsara realm is the Ant Lord's spine and flesh. The Radiance Ancestor Earth Abyss is a world of flesh and blood that is constructed by this spine and flesh. Each layer of the Earth Abyss is a different spine. The first 12 layers of the Earth Abyss are 12 different spines. The 13 spines that we are currently in can be considered as the 13th layer of the Earth Abyss. The funny thing is that the ancestors of the Light Clan in the illusory dream world thought that the Radiance Ancestor Earth Abyss was some kind of heavenly paradise. They once built a country here and even established the Light Clan. Later on, they probably found out the truth, and were so scared that they did not dare to stay here anymore. They moved their entire clan away from this place. The experts of the Light Ant clan are even more ridiculous. They are actually just our master's toys. However, they have no idea about this at all. They don't even know our master's true strength, and they don't know that our master had suppressed the Ant Lord who they conferred as a god. Something is not right. There seems to be something wrong. You mean Senior Omniscient only suppressed the Ant Lord after the Purple Doe immortal domain was destroyed? Ning Fan suddenly frowned and asked. That's right. But you just said that the ancestors of the Light Clan first discovered this Radiance Ancestor Earth Abyss, and then established the Light Clan? That's right. Is there a problem? There's a huge problem. As far as I know, The Light Clan is one of the 10 great secret clans in this illusory dream world. This clan had already existed long before the Purple Doe immortal domain was destroyed. The two things that you mentioned don't match up at the same time. The time really did not match up. After the Purple Doe immortal domain was destroyed, Senior Omniscient suppressed the Ant Lord, and then the ancestors of the Light Clan established the Light Clan on the remains of the Ant Lord. All of these things did not match the fact that the Light Clan had always existed in the Purple Doe immortal domain. This was a contradiction in the logic of time. So, Brother Hero is puzzled about this matter. What is there to be puzzled about? Something like the logic of time is just an illusion. Illusion? What do you mean? When Brother Hero is sleeping, have you ever had a dream? Yes. Do the things that happen in your dreams always go against common sense? Yes. Are you in the illusory dream world right now? Yes. Then that's it. The illusory dream world is just a dream. Searching for the logic of reality in an illusory dream is the wrong way to go. Searching for the truth in an illusory dream, Ning Fan's frown deepened. He felt that what the sludge monster said contained the true face of the illusory dream world, but he could not really see through it. Actually, I don't really understand it as well. I only heard it from my master. My master often told us some strange theories. He once said that time and space are just a means to understand the world, but they are not the true face of the world. This world could become a big universe, or it could become a small mustard seed. This reincarnation cycle could last for thousands of years, or it could be as short as a dream. In the microscopic world where our eyesight is hard to see, there are microorganisms that are born and destroyed in a flash. We only observe their life and death for a moment, but we don't know that in the eyes of the microorganisms, their life might also be thousands of years. We think that after we cultivate the Tao, we can live forever. But in the eyes of those cultivators of a higher realm, our long life might only be a moment of life and death in the microscopic world. Isn't it very hard to understand? Actually, I don't really understand it. Our eternal life is just a moment of life and death in the eyes of others. Ning Fan's face was filled with confusion. He had comprehended some of it, but he still could not comprehend most of it. At this moment, Ning Fan truly felt the gap between him and the omniscient old man. It was so close that he could touch it. That was the gap between him and the omniscient old man. It actually made Ning Fan feel a sense of defeat that he had not felt for a long time. The omniscient old man's Tao comprehension realm was really too profound. Whether it was the guidance he gave him previously, or the few words he heard from Little Mud this time, all of them made Ning Fan feel like he was looking up to a lofty mountain. Omniscient old man. Since this person dares to use this name, he must have some capabilities. He is not being arrogant. I really can't see the world that senior omniscient old man has seen. Ning Fan said regretfully. The sludge monster actually heard a trace of desolation in Ning Fan's tone of defeat. This sigh was the sigh of a cultivator towards the boundless Tao. The sludge monster's heart was like glass in an instant. All of a sudden, she felt sorry for her heroic brother. Weep, weep, weep. At first, she wanted to ask Ning Fan for a small favor. However, at this moment, she could not bring herself to ask him no matter what. My life has a limit, but my knowledge is also boundless. If there is a limit, there will always be a limit. Ning Fan suddenly chuckled and swept away the gloominess in his heart. Life was limited, but knowledge was infinite. Using a limited life to pursue infinite knowledge would definitely result in failure. This was Ning Fan's true nature. After all, he was only defeated for a moment. After all, he was not a person who truly pursued the Tao wholeheartedly. The reason why he cultivated the Tao was not to be smarter than others, let alone to understand the true appearance of the world. To him, whether the world was real or not was not important at all. It was also not important what the Tao was. In fact, he did not want anything else from the word Tao. The Tao was just a tool in his hands to protect the warmth behind his back. Ning Fan did not know that it was exactly this disposition of ignoring the Tao that made him closer to the Tao than anyone else. Ning Fan did not try to pry out the great secrets of heaven and earth from the sludge monster. He was not interested. He was only interested in the meat soup that the sludge monster cooked. Now that he had accidentally rescued the sludge monster, he naturally would not waste the chance to drink the soup again. Rustle. Rustle. Ning Fan suddenly patted his storage pouch. Then, countless ant seeds fell to the ground like raindrops, piling up into a small hill. Those were the ant seeds that he obtained from killing the corpse slave king. There were more than 1,400 of them. The corpse slave king was the collective form of small corpse slaves. After killing it, tens of thousands of ant seeds were produced. Unfortunately, the situation was too chaotic at that time. Ning Fan could not collect all of the ant seeds at all. He could only collect a small portion. He could only blame the fact that the explosion he caused was too terrifying and too sudden. In a moment of desperation, he still had to escape with old ancestor Lei Zhe, who was a burden. He was already lucky to be able to collect 1,400 ant seeds. The rest of the ant seeds that he did not manage to collect in time had already been destroyed in the explosion. It was really a pity. Speaking of which, if he did not cause that explosion, he would not have been able to eliminate the corpse slave king and obtain so many ant seeds in one go. Wow. So many ant seeds. Brother Hero is really amazing. You actually got so many of them. The sludge monster's admiration towards Ning Fan continued to rise. If it's convenient, can you make me some more soup? After finding out that this place was the world of the Lord Ant's spine, Ning Fan was no longer in a hurry to leave. This place seemed to be a good place to cultivate the purity of his magic power. Wasn't this the reason why he ran out with the sludge monster? As for whether the Light Ant clan would come after him again, Ning Fan was too lazy to care about that. If the enemies come after him, he would just have to fight them again. It's convenient. Of course it's convenient. Brother Hero is my savior. I'm willing to make soup for him for the rest of my life. Shame. She actually said such bashful words. Could it be that she has already fallen in love with Brother Hero? If Brother Hero asks her to repay him with her body, will she obey him or not? Good boy. Ning Fan patted the sludge monster's head lovingly, as if he was patting a pet. Ning Fan was really looking at this lump of mud, as if he was looking at a pet. Ever since he cultivated the communication technique of all living things, he was especially sensitive to the kindness and malice of all living things in the world. At this moment, the sludge monster was obviously not hostile towards him at all. That was why he dared to pat its head and really had the thought of keeping it as his pet. If the sludge monster was plotting against him just now, he would certainly not touch it like this. However, the sludge monsters didn't think so. Brother Hero touched her head and killed her. Her muddy heart was about to leap out of her muddy throat. There seemed to be a million little deer running around in his heart. What to do? She was so happy. She was so happy just by patting his head. But then she started to worry. Brother Hero, are you going to boil all the ant soup? You drank so much ant seed soup in one go. Don't tell me it's too nourishing. She recalled the incident where Ning Fan went to find the human cauldrons to vent his excessive nourishment. It's all right. I'll just endure all of it. When Ning Fan recalled that his body had almost exploded due to the nourishment, he also felt a little embarrassed. However, that was because he hadn't made any preparations beforehand. If he had made sufficient preparations, he wouldn't have been afraid no matter how much he replenished himself. He had plenty of cauldrons. Moreover, he had just caught 2 quasi-sage cauldrons. Wasn't it perfect for him to use them to release the medicinal power? Should I do that? If it was a quasi-sage cauldron, the effect of releasing the medicinal power should be very good. At the same time, it could also increase his cultivation level, however. Will there be any risks if I rashly pluck the quasi-sage cauldrons? Ning Fan frowned. Just now, when he sneakily attacked Hong Lian with his bewitching technique, she managed to break free from it. The bewitching technique was not omnipotent. During the process of plucking the 2 female quasi-sage cauldrons with his bewitching technique, if the 2 of them break free from his bewitching technique, and something unexpected happens, it would definitely be extremely dangerous. He who was focused on plucking was the most relaxed one. If he really gets ambushed by the 2 of them, he would certainly be doomed eternally. Or perhaps, I should only pluck the 2 female quasi-sage cauldrons after I'm fully prepared to avoid any unexpected incidents during the plucking process? Forget it. What's the point of thinking so much? I'll drink the soup first and cultivate the purity of my magic power. Ning Fan was drinking the soup and cultivating in the 13th level of the Earth Abyss. On the 12th level of the Earth Abyss, in the clan hall of the Light Ant clan, the great priestess of Mother Een was furious. She was cursing revered Eagle Yang, who had just escaped to the clan's territory. How could she not be angry? It was all because of this idiot who insisted that Ning Fan was a great cultivator from the ancient times, causing the entire Light Ant clan to hesitate in fear, causing them to miss the best opportunity to encircle and annihilate Ning Fan. When Ning Fan killed the corpse slave king, the great priestess of Mother Een finally estimated Ning Fan's true strength. He was definitely not a great cultivator from the ancient times. In fact, he was even weaker than the corpse slave king. However, everything was too late. Ning Fan actually used a teleportation technique and escaped from the range of the explosion. She had no idea where he went. Besides, her Heavens Will Red name technique could no longer lock onto Ning Fan. It was as if Ning Fan had used some kind of technique to block her senses. She wanted to chase after Ning Fan, but she did not know where to go. If it wasn't for Eagle Yang who spread the rumor, how could the dignified Holy Ant sect of the Light Ant clan give Ning Fan so many chances to kill so many experts? How could he possibly escape? Great Priestess, you have to believe me. That Devil Lord is really a great cultivator from the ancient times. He captured Her Highness Huahua with a single strike. He killed the corpse slave king with just a single explosion. You weren't there at that time, and you didn't see the destructive force of the explosion. Otherwise, you would definitely believe in this matter, and make the same wise decision as me by choosing to retreat. Revered Eagle Yang, who was scared out of his wits by Ning Fan, was still defending himself, insisting that Ning Fan was a great cultivator from the ancient times. Great Priestess Een had told him over and over again that Ning Fan was not a great cultivator from the ancient times. However, he did not believe her. He did not believe her. Mother Een laughed out of anger. She felt that all of her explanations were like chicken talking to a duck. Seeing that revered Eagle Yang was still boasting about how terrifying Ning Fan was, her elegant face finally revealed killing intent. You shut up. I'll say it again. That young man is not a great cultivator from the ancient times. He doesn't even look like a true quasi-saint realm being. Even though he has a lot of magic power, there's something wrong with him. If you dare to spread the rumor and disturb people's thoughts again, I will certainly punish you even if you are a quasi-saint realm being from my clan. Sigh. Great Priestess, you're good in everything but you're just too stubborn. You believe too much in your Heavens Will Red name technique. Is the Heavens Will really not make a mistake? Even if we use the Heavens Will to sense something, there will still be mistakes. I only believe in what I see with my own eyes. I've witnessed the scene where the corpse slave king was killed. I've also witnessed the atrocious act of that Devil Lord capturing a quasi-saint realm being with a single move. That Devil Lord is too powerful. He's really too powerful. I told you to shut up. Didn't you hear me? Mother Een was too lazy to talk nonsense with revered Eagle Yang anymore. She suddenly flicked her sleeve. A gust of chilly wind was produced from her wide sleeve, and blew towards revered Eagle Yang's face. At first, revered Eagle Yang wanted to continue arguing for himself. However, as soon as he saw Priestess Yin's attack, his expression changed drastically. How would he still dare to speak any more nonsense? However, he could not escape. As soon as the chilly wind came into contact with him, countless cold and transparent runes were produced. The runes emitted an endless suction force. No matter how revered Eagle Yang resisted, he could not break free from that suction force. In the end, revered Eagle Yang, who was a first-level quasi-saint, was forcefully sucked into her sleeve world by Priestess Yin's chilly wind. He faced the wall and reflected on himself. Calm down. You were just frightened by that kid's appearance. Once you wake up, you'll realize that I'm right. High Priestess Mother Een seemed to be talking to herself, but also seemed to be talking to Venerable Eagle Yang in the sleeve world. Upon seeing the High Priest grab a sage-to-be, the other experts of the Light Ant clan in the hall lowered their heads in awe, not daring to look directly at the High Priest. This was the intimidation brought about by absolute strength. Among the crowd, There was only a woman who was dressed in emperor clothes. She raised her head and looked at Mother Een with a serious expression. Damn it. This woman is already so strong. She restrained Yang with one move. How am I going to compete with her for the position of the queen ant? How am I going to take revenge for what happened in the past? This woman was one of the 4 successors of the Light Ant clan's queen, dethroned Emperor Hua Mang. Humph. Subduing a demi-saint in one move? Was that a big deal? I can do it too, but what can I do? I'm still at the bottom of the second stage quasi-sages. It was the same for that brat. Although his methods were strange and difficult to guard against, his true strength might not be that high. Stop believing in Yang's nonsense. Our top priority now is to find out where that brat is. Then we will kill him and save Hua Hua. The Ant Queen's selection was around the corner. As a competitor of the Ant Queen, Mother Een actually did not want to save Hua Hua. However, this matter concerned the reputation of the entire Light Ant clan. She had no choice but to save him. Only by killing Ning Fan and saving Hua Hua could she slightly wash away the humiliation that the Sacred Ant clan had suffered. The glory of the Sacred Ant clan was above everything else. However, where should I go to kill Ning Fan? The red name of Tian Yi's senses had been blocked. Where is that brat now? Could he have already escaped from the abyss? If that's the case, while Mother Een was pondering, she suddenly received an urgent report from outside the hall. An armored soldier of the Light Ant clan stumbled into the hall. High Priest. My lords. Something bad has happened. Something has happened to the forbidden area. Something has happened to the 13 vertebrae. Lord Hong Lian, who is in charge of the 13 vertebrae, has been captured. She is contacting us using a soul voice secret technique, asking us for help. She hopes that we can kill our way into the 13 vertebrae and save her. What? Hong Lian was in charge of the 13 vertebrae. How could she be captured? Could it be? Mother Yin's beautiful face was filled with rage. She thought of the only possibility. Ning Fan. It must be this brat. This brat actually did not run out of the abyss. Instead, he somehow broke into the 13 vertebrae and even captured Hong Lian, the guardian of the 13 vertebrae. He actually captured the second successor of the Ant Queen. Is he trying to trample on the Sacred Ant clan's reputation? This brat deserves to die. He deserves to die. Pass down my order. All experts above the immortal Emperor realm are to follow me and kill our way into the 13 vertebrae. We must eliminate this devil. Mother Een said with hatred. It's not possible. Great Priest, you must have forgotten that once the Ant Queen's selection begins, we members of the Light Ant clan won't be able to enter the forbidden area below the 13th level unless it ends. We can't pass through the bloodline gate at all. In other words, even if we know that the devil has broken into the 13 vertebrae, we can't chase after him. The other experts of the Light Ant clan immediately wore a troubled expression. Who did not want to kill Ning Fan? Who did not want to kill this brat and wash away the humiliation of the Sacred Ant clan? However, the problem was that they could not enter the 13 vertebrae. As the most forbidden area of the Light Ant clan, was the 13 vertebrae a place where they could enter whenever they wanted? Usually, the conditions to enter the 13 vertebrae were already extremely strict. Especially now, it was a special period where the Ant Queen's selection of the Light Ant clan was being held. No one from the clan was allowed to enter the 13 vertebrae. Only outsiders were allowed to enter and exit freely. This brat is actually so cunning. He calculated that we wouldn't be able to pass through the bloodline gate and enter the 13 vertebrae during this special period. That's why he purposely hid there. Damn it. Damn it. Mother Een was so angry that her face turned pale. This devil dares to challenge the dignity of our Sacred Ant clan, but he doesn't dare to fight us head-on. He only knows how to hide. How despicable. How shameless. A bald quasi-saint of the Light Ant clan scolded angrily. You guys are too naive. It's still fine if this devil is just hiding in the 13 vertebrae. However, I'm afraid that he is going there to steal the treasure. That treasure is the foundation of our clan's prosperity. If it is stolen by an outsider, the consequences will be unimaginable. Another hunchbacked quasi-saint began to worry. As soon as he said that, Everyone's expression changed drastically. The great priestess of Mother E no longer cared about killing Ningfan to vent her anger. She was also a little worried about the loss of the 13 vertebrae. However, she still shook her head and said, "Impossible. It's impossible for this brat to know about the existence of the indestructible soul of our clan. It's also impossible for him to know the method to steal the indestructible soul of our clan. Even if he knows the method, he doesn't have the ability to steal it. That's the indestructible soul of a saint. Even if it's just a strand of a scattered soul, it's impossible for a second-step cultivator to obtain it. It's better to be safe than sorry." Before the incident, who would have thought that this brat would be able to capture Her Highness Huahua and General Hong Lian, and kill the corpse slave king? The hunchbacked quasi-saint said seriously, "All right. What brilliant plan do you have? Just say it. You should know that during this special period, our Light Ant clan can't enter the 13 vertebrae. I don't have any brilliant plan, but I do have a vicious one. Even though we can't enter the 13 vertebrae, aren't Her Highness Huahua and General Hong Lian still in there?" The hunchbacked quasi-saint suddenly chuckled strangely. "What do you mean? They have already been captured by the enemy. What else can they do? Hehe. So what if they are captured? As long as the two of them are willing to sacrifice themselves, it's not difficult to eliminate this devil." "You mean a devil lord who was lucky enough to capture 2 quasi-saint human cauldrons? What will he do?" Even if he doesn't have the interest in this aspect, it doesn't matter. I've long heard that Her Highness Huahua is proficient in the soul sound bewitching technique. If this devil doesn't take the bait, I'll just lure him in. It's not difficult at all." Achoo. Ningfan, who was drinking the soup in the 13 vertebrae, sneezed for no reason. Then he continued to drink the soup. He did not know that someone was plotting against him, and he did not care. He did not know that the Light Ant clan was currently in a special period, and they could not enter the 13 vertebrae. Thus, while drinking the soup, he was still keeping an eye out for other experts of the Light Ant clan who might come. Last time, he drank 70 bowls of the ant seed soup, and he could not endure the medicinal power. He nearly exploded from the nourishment. Obviously, it would not be the same this time. Every time he drank a bowl of ant seed soup, he would use a special bewitching technique to dissolve the heat that kept surging up from the bottom of his dantian. In this way, the side effects of the ant seed soup were greatly reduced. He drank 200 bowls of ant seed soup in a row before he could no longer stand the nourishment in his body. He still had to vent. Of course, this time, he was prepared. It wouldn't be as terrifying as having to vent for 3 days. "I'll be back soon. I need to solve some problems." Ningfan instructed the sludge monster, and planned to enter the profound Yin world. The sludge monster blushed. Of course, she knew what problem Ningfan was going to solve. Unfortunately, she no longer had the body of a great beauty. Instead, she had turned into a pile of smelly mud. Otherwise, she would also want to help Ningfan. Black Devil's expressionless face turned slightly unhappy. The appearance of the sludge monster gave her a sense of crisis. She didn't care how many women Ningfan had, but she cared about how many pets he had. Thus, she suppressed the shame in her heart and said straightforwardly, "Master, if you need to solve your problem, you can bring me along." Yes. Thus, without a shred of integrity, he brought Black Devil along with him and returned to the immortal cave in the profound Yin world. With Black Demon around, there was no hurry to find another cauldron. But, however, before he could untie Black Devil's belt, an enchanting soul voice suddenly came from another direction of the profound Yin world. It was the Palace of Repentance where Huahua and Hong Lian were imprisoned. What's going on? Why did those 2 women take the initiative to release their bewitching technique to tempt me over? Ningfan frowned. What kind of attainments did he have in bewitching technique? Yet he was nearly bewitched by the soul voice. The opponent's bewitching technique is really powerful. Then here comes the problem. Why did these 2 captured quasi-saints take the initiative to tempt me? How did they use their cultivation base and release their bewitching technique when they were imprisoned? It was certain that they harbored evil intentions. What surprised Ningfan was that the 2 women were actually able to deal with him secretly even though their cultivation bases were sealed. Sure enough, A quasi-saint should not be underestimated. Even if they were women who had become his captives, he still could not be careless. Master, hurry up. Black Devil's face was filled with displeasure. It was very shameful for her to serve Ning Fan in her human form. Of course, she hoped that Ning Fan could end the battle as soon as possible. Unfortunately, her past experiences had proven that Ning Fan only knew how to fight a protracted battle instead of a quick one. It really gave her a headache. Don't be anxious. Someone wants to use bewitching technique against me. Black Devil's face was filled with killing intent after Ning Fan said a few simple sentences. Who was it that actually dared to attack her master? They deserve to die. I originally didn't want to attack these two women so soon. However, since they took the initiative to court death, they can't blame me for being ruthless. Wait for me here. I'll be back soon. Ning Fan did not explain much to Black Devil. He just sneered and disappeared in a flash. Black Devil walked out of Ning Fan's immortal cave and tidied up her messy clothes. Then, she shook her head gently at the direction where Ning Fan flew. Master, you're lying. You won't be back soon. You'll definitely take a very long time. Chapter 1204. In the profound Yin world, Ning Fan flew all the way to the Palace of Repentance. Both Hua Hua and Hong Lian were suppressed there. They were suppressed, not imprisoned. Facing quasi-saint captives, Ning Fan did not dare to think that he could imprison them with his bewitching technique like he did in the past. Under his suppression, not only were their cultivation bases completely sealed, but they were also in a comatose state. They could not even wake up from their slumber. Ning Fan initially thought that it would be foolproof. However, he was wrong. These two women were too capable. They could actually use bewitching techniques to attack him while they were unconscious. And their cultivation bases were sealed. At this moment, a sensual voice spread out from the Palace of Repentance, spreading across the entire profound Yin world and reaching Ning Fan's soul. It was a soul voice that was specifically targeted at Ning Fan. Only he could hear it. The soul voice was too seductive and bewitching. It sounded like moaning, panting, moaning, begging and crying. That voice seemed to be able to directly penetrate Ning Fan's soul. Clearly, it was an extremely profound bewitching technique. If it wasn't because Ning Fan had cultivated the mother relic in his body and a secret treasure like the Yin-Yang locket to protect himself, there was a high chance that he would be bewitched by this technique and lose his mind. You do have some skills. Ning Fan sneered and entered the Palace of Repentance, heading to the deepest cell. The moment Ning Fan arrived, Hua Hua and Hong Lian seemed to have sensed his presence and communicated with each other using their soul voice. What should we do? That stinky man really took the bait. Do we really have to use Mother Yin's plan to deal with this man? Once we lose our chastity, we will no longer have the qualifications to compete for the position of the Ant Queen. It was Hua Hua's slightly panicked soul voice. The position of the Ant Queen is secondary. When I think about using my body to please this dog man, I feel disgusted. But if we don't use this plan, what other way do we have to escape from this place? The High Priest has already said that there will not be any reinforcements for the 13 vertebrae. Other than saving ourselves, we have no other way. Have you forgotten how profound that dogman's bewitching technique is? Only God knows how many people he has plucked to cultivate such a powerful bewitching technique. Even if we don't take the initiative, he will do it to us sooner or later. Instead of doing nothing when the time comes, we might as well attack him when he is unprepared. It was Hong Lian's soul voice that was filled with anger. I understand, but can we really succeed? Hua Hua was still a little hesitant. Don't worry, no matter how powerful that dogman's charm technique is, could it be more powerful than Hua Quan's wine pool and flesh forest? Unfortunately, after this incident, you and I no longer have the qualifications to fight for the position of the Queen Ant. This hatred will not disappear. When this matter ends, I'll definitely tear that dog of a man's corpse into 10,000 pieces to vent the hatred in my heart. Red Lotus said hatefully. Hua Hua felt more confident when she thought of how powerful the wine pool and meat forests were, but she was still a little reluctant. Ning Fan was her greatest enemy. She was about to feed him with her body. How could she be willing to do so? Hua Hua and Red Lotus were suppressed in an ice prison. The moment he stepped into the ice room, Ning Fan smelled a strange aroma of wine. There was clearly no wine here, but there was a strange wine fragrance wafting out. It was truly strange. And what was even stranger was that this wine fragrance directly penetrated his soul, causing his soul to feel intoxicated. Once he was intoxicated, Ning Fan's mind became a little unclear. Fortunately, he did not completely lose his consciousness because the mother Saraira in his body began to rotate and protect its master on its own. Saraira, form is not different from emptiness, and emptiness is not different from form. Form is emptiness and emptiness is form. Ning Fan seemed to have heard some Sanskrit chanting. The drunkenness that tainted his soul immediately began to fade. He never knew that the mother Saraira had such a miraculous effect. Today, when he encountered a powerful opponent using the charm technique, he finally revealed the true power of the mother Saraira. Look. That dog man's eyes were as if he was intoxicated. Clearly, he had already fallen for the enchantment of the wine pool. Our plan will definitely succeed. Red Lotus was overjoyed. Ning Fan staggered a little, as if he was really drunk. It was unknown whether he was pretending or not. He opened the prison and approached the two ladies step by step. The two ladies were sealed in the ice pillars. If he wanted to pluck them, he would first need to unseal the ice pillars. Ning Fan seemed to have fallen too deeply into the charm technique and was really impatient. He hurriedly rushed to the side of Red Lotus's seal and only unsealed the lower half of the seal. Then, the upper half of Red Lotus's body was still unconscious. It was suspended in midair by the ice pillars while Ning Fan tore apart the armor and clothes of the lower half of her body. Then, before Ning Fan could carry out the next step, layers of illusions appeared in front of his eyes. The enemy's charm technique actually did not only contain the fragrance of the wine, but also an illusion technique. Where is this place? Ning Fan did not know if he was really under the illusion technique or if he was just pretending. His eyes were filled with confusion. He looked around at the unfamiliar illusion technique environment around him, as if he could not figure out where he was and who he was. It was a bridal chamber that was covered with red paper. Ning Fan, on the other hand, was dressed like a bridegroom. Inside the bridal chamber, red candles were burning and the curtains were dim. A delicate and pretty maid was holding the lantern at the bottom of the stairs. Two brides were lying on the wedding bed, Hua Hua and Red Lotus. They were wearing bright red wedding clothes and were tied to the bed with ropes. They could not move at all and remained unconscious. Well, they were not really immobilized. It seemed like Ning Fan had already untied the ropes binding Red Lotus's lower half and tore off her clothes because he was too impatient. Who am I? Who are they? Ning Fan asked in confusion. Of course, he would not ask Hua Hua and Red Lotus who were unconscious. He asked the maid who was holding the lantern. Master, these two ladies are Master's new concubines. The maid lowered her head and answered respectfully. Her clear eyes were filled with disdain towards Ning Fan. They're my new concubines? If that's the case, why are they tied up here? They shouldn't be like this on the day of their wedding. Ning Fan was puzzled. He seemed to have forgotten a lot of things as he was immersed in the world of illusion technique. That's right. The bride should not be tied up on the day of their wedding. That's too inauspicious. Master, please untie the two madams before we do the deed. The maid pleaded. Untie them, huh? Ning Fan's eyes seemed to be struggling. His expression was like he subconsciously remembered that he could not untie the two madams completely. What are you hesitating for, Master? I don't know. I just feel that it's not good to untie them. Ning Fan's expression became even more conflicted. There's nothing bad about it. Master, please listen to Huaju and untie them. In this world, no husband would treat his concubine like this. It's not right. Huaju approached Ning Fan slowly and took off her shoes. She knelt on the bed and grabbed Ning Fan's hand with her cold palm. Come, Master. Be obedient and untie the two madams. Only by untying them can you do the deed. She grabbed Ning Fan's hand and untied the ropes binding Red Lotus's upper body. Ning Fan's expression became even more perplexed. It was as if he would forget a lot of things as long as he was touched by this maid named Huaju. He could not remember why he had to tie the two madams up. Untying them seemed to be the right thing to do. Thus, he really began to untie the remaining ropes binding Red Lotus's upper body instead of doing the deed on her naked lower body. However, just as the ropes were untied a little, Ningfan suddenly stopped. He turned around and looked at Huaju with a serious expression. No. This isn't right. What's wrong? Huaju's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. However, she regained her composure and asked indifferently, "Don't tell me this man has broken my illusion technique and regained his consciousness." Huaju was secretly worried. It shouldn't be me who listens to you. It should be you who listens to me. You are my servant. I am your master. Ningfan suddenly turned his hand over and grabbed Huaju's hand. Then he began to fondle her hand lecherously. Huaju's heart was filled with hatred. She wanted to withdraw her hand, but she could not do so no matter how hard she tried. Damn it! In the illusory world, my strength is actually not as great as Ningfan's. How is this possible? This is obviously the illusory world that I control. Seeing that Ningfan was gradually not satisfied with just touching her hand, and began to fondle up her arm, Huaju became anxious. "Master, you can't do this. Today is your wedding day. You should take care of the two madams. You can't. You can't do this to me. Why can't I? As long as I am willing. Why can't I have one more concubine? You are a beggar, aren't you? Little Huashao, just follow me. As long as you follow me, I will grant you a life of glory and wealth." Ningfan acted as if he had really become a hungry master who would not be picky about his food. "No. Stop. You dog. I told you to stop. I'm not your servant." "I am." Huaju was pressed on the bed by Ningfan. Her outer robe was stripped off and her undergarment was exposed. She was so anxious that she cursed. She was not sure whether Ningfan had seen through her illusion technique or not. Of course, it was also possible that Ningfan's nature was like this. He was still as anxious as usual in the illusory world. She was not sure. That was why she did not dare to break the illusion technique and enchantment technique. However, she was also unwilling to lose her virginity in the illusory world. She wanted to resist and struggle, but Ningfan's drunken mouth had already begun to bite her. She could not resist at all. This was too abnormal. Just as she was feeling anxious, another maidservant walked in with a copper basin and helped Huaju out of her predicament. She was a peerlessly beautiful lady. Just by standing there, Huaju, Huahua and Honglian all paled in comparison. She was Mother Yin, the uncrowned king of the Sacred Ant sect. Seeing that Huaju could not handle Ningfan alone, she also entered the illusory world. As soon as she entered, the fun between Ningfan and Huaju was naturally disrupted. "Who are you? Who told you to come in?" Ningfan seemed to be very angry when his fun was interrupted. He casually grabbed a porcelain pillow at the side and threw it at Mother Yin. Mother Yin was shocked. She did not expect that Ningfan would dare to attack her. She hurriedly dodged, but her head was still hit by the porcelain pillow. Immediately, blood flowed out. "How dare you attack me? You're courting death." Mother Yin was instantly enraged. However, she quickly suppressed her anger. This was the dual space of enchantment technique and illusory technique that Huaju created. The power that she could use in this place was very little, even though she was a genuine second-level quasi-saint. Somehow, even Huaju could not suppress Ningfan in this place. She was afraid that she would not be able to do so. If she really enrages Ningfan, this scheme of hers will really end in failure. "What? You're obviously dressed like a maidservant. How dare you talk to me like that?" Ningfan was enraged. "Grand ritual." Elder Sister Yin quickly apologized to Master. Huaju also did not want her scheme to fail on the verge of success. She was obviously still being suppressed by Ningfan, but she still tried to persuade Mother Yin to calm down. Mother Yin was also a proud and arrogant person. With her personality, even if this place was just an illusory realm, she would not allow Ningfan to bully her. However, she had no choice. Before she succeeded, she did not want to ruin the great plan because of her anger. Thus, she gritted her teeth and lowered her noble head, apologizing. "Mother Yin knows her mistake. Please forgive me, Master. Humph. Now you know your mistake? It's too late. It's impossible for Master to forgive you. Today, Master will punish all of you harshly and teach you what it means to respect your superiors. Ning Fan took out a piece of rope out of nowhere. In just a few moves, he actually tied Huaju up like a dumpling and threw her on the bed. Then he got off the bed and pounced on Motherine barefooted. Master, what are you doing? Huaju was extremely anxious. Motherine was also very anxious. She never expected that Ning Fan could tie her up in her illusory realm. It was too abnormal. An unprecedented sense of foreboding rose in her heart. Could it be that this dog of a man was not affected by the illusory technique at all? No. This is impossible. She had even used a pool of wine and a forest of flesh. Beautiful Motherine, don't run. Let me have a taste of you. While chasing after her, Ning Fan hugged her and kissed her on the cheek. Mother Yin's face instantly turned cold. Someone as noble as her was actually violated by Ning Fan. How could she tolerate this? Get lost. As soon as Mother Yin displayed her ability, a faint chilly wind rose around her. When the chilly wind swept past, Ning Fan felt like he was about to be blown away. However, right after that, Ning Fan also used his ability and stopped the chilly wind. The amount of power that Mother Yin could use in this illusory realm was too little. Her chilly wind was easily extinguished by Ning Fan. Seeing this, Mother Yin's expression changed greatly. It was impossible for Ning Fan, who was under an illusory technique, to use any power in this illusory realm. There was only one reason why Ning Fan could do this. He was not affected by the illusory technique at all. He was just acting. You're not under an illusory technique. This is impossible. You can actually resist the erosion of the pool of wine and the forest of flesh. You actually... Mother Yin was extremely shocked. She wanted to say something, but she could not utter the next sentence. Her mouth was blocked by Ning Fan's mouth, which reeked of alcohol. Someone as noble as her actually, she bit down furiously and broke Ning Fan's tongue. However, she was then thrown onto the bed by Ning Fan. At this moment, Ning Fan no longer had the confused look of a master. He was obviously sneering like a devil. Interesting. I didn't expect that the 4 famous flowers of the Sacred Ant sect are all here. Even though 2 of them are just illusions and there won't be many benefits from plucking them, it doesn't seem like there's any loss for me to be able to taste such unparalleled beauty. How dare you? You've already captured 2 of the successors of the Ant Queen of my clan. If you still dare to lay your hands on me, I will certainly grind your bones into ashes and make you unable to reincarnate forever. Huachu, what are you still standing there for? The plan has already failed. Quickly undo the technique, and let our souls escape from this place. Otherwise, we will be humiliated by this person. Mother Yin said angrily. I can't do it. This person's attainments in illusory techniques and bewitching techniques are far beyond mine. Besides, he even knows how to reflect the illusory technique. Before I realized it, he had already taken control of this illusory realm. You and I can't escape. Huachu said dejectedly. What? Mother Yin was shocked. When she realized that she could no longer count on Huachu, she wanted to do something. However, she could not do anything in time. Ning Fan was already pressing down on her. Something strange happened in the Light Ant clan. High Priestess Yin and Huachu were originally using bewitching techniques to plot against Ning Fan. For some reason, the 2 of them suddenly dismissed the experts in the main hall and sealed the main hall. As a result, none of the experts of the Light Ant clan could hear the undulating moans in the main hall. Moreover, no one knew that the 2 of them had failed in their scheme against Ning Fan. Instead, they were taken advantage of by him. Not good. Take your filthy hands away. Don't. In the main hall, Huachu's clothes were still intact, but she was rolling on a soft mattress to escape. Her eyes were filled with confusion, as if she had fallen into an illusory technique. In the illusory realm, she was being humiliated by Ning Fan. Unable to bear the humiliation, clear tears of hatred flowed down from her eyes. Get lost. How dare you? Damn it. It hurts. Take it away. I won't allow you. I won't allow you to touch me. The High Priestess of Mother Yin was also affected by the illusory technique. She only had herself to blame. No one knew what she had experienced in the illusory realm. No one knew what kind of illusory technique the two of them had suffered. While Hua Chu and Mother Yin were being tortured by the illusory technique, Hua Hua and Hong Lian were in an even worse state. They were suffering the consequences of their own actions. In the Palace of Repentance, Ning Fan had already plucked them countless times. Moreover, he had also obtained tremendous benefits from each plucking. The medicinal effect of the ant seed soup had long been exhausted. It doesn't matter. Every time this happened, Ning Fan would fly out of the profound Yin world in a flash and drink another 1 to 200 bowls of the ant seed soup. After that he would turn around and continue plucking them. Plucking a quasi-saint realm expert was not an easy task. With the difference in cultivation level between Ning Fan and a quasi-saint realm expert, it was even more impossible for him to finish plucking them in one go. Instead, he needed to pluck them step by step. 1 day passed. 2 days passed. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. To Mother Yin, Hua Hua and Hong Lian, this half a month could be considered as torture. The only difference was that the first 2 women were only suffering from mental torture, while the latter 2 were suffering from physical torture. They had long been awakened by Ning Fan. Their tears of regret and humiliation had already dried up. It was unknown when Ning Fan had implanted the child relic into the 2 women's bodies. The child relic was just too heaven-defying. It could subtly change a person's feelings, causing a woman who hated Ning Fan initially to fall in love with him. The child relic could affect a person's feelings. In the past, Ning Fan would only plant the child relic in his women, and would never use it to harm the common people. However, it was different this time. Both Hua Hua and Hong Lian were his enemies. There was no need for Ning Fan to be merciful to his enemies. He wanted to have absolute control over these 2 women. Even though the 2 women's cultivation bases had dropped to the quasi-saint realm because of him, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Even though their cultivation bases were no longer at the quasi-saint realm, their physical bodies were still at the quasi-saint realm. If he plucked them from time to time, it would still bring him great benefits. Under the influence of the child relic, they obviously wanted to cut Ning Fan into 1,000 pieces, but they could not really bring themselves to do so. Moreover, as time went by and the number of times he plucked them increased, they could not help but develop a good impression of Ning Fan. They actually developed a good impression of the enemy, who humiliated them. The child relic was too terrifying. This half a month was the most shocking half a month that old ancestor Leisha had ever experienced. In just half a month, Ning Fan's cultivation base improved tremendously every single day. That speed of improvement left him dumbfounded and in disbelief. His magic power broke through 14,900 tribulations, 15,000 tribulations, 15,200 tribulations, 15,400 tribulations, 16,000 tribulations, 17,000 tribulations. The speed of Ning Fan's magic power increase was just too fast. One should know that after 10,000 tribulations, it would be extremely difficult for a cultivator to increase their magic power. However, Ning Fan's magic power had increased by more than 2,000 tribulations in just half a month. Such speed was simply beyond old ancestor Leisha's understanding. Could it be that this kid plucked both Hong Lian and Hua Hua? However, even if he plucked them, it should not be possible for his cultivation base to improve so quickly. How could there be such a powerful plucking technique in this world? Even Great Emperor Ancient Chaos Yin-Yang Transformation did not seem to have such a miraculous effect. What old ancestor Leisha did not know was that after Ning Fan obtained the inheritance of the reverse relic, another bewitching technique grandmaster, his attainments in bewitching technique had already surpassed Great Emperor Ancient Chaos. It was not strange at all for him to have such an effect. The relationship between the Dao Hun clan and the ancient demon clan was like that of Yin and Yang. Because of that, when Ning Fan plucked 2 quasi-saints this time, the one who benefited the most was Gu Yao's cultivation base. His cultivation base rose to the peak of the 5 tribulations realm in one go. One more step, and he would be at the immortal emperor realm. Unfortunately, there seemed to be a huge threshold in the immortal emperor realm. Even after plucking 2 quasi-saints, Ning Fan still could not break through this bottleneck. In the end, Gu Yao's cultivation base could only stay at this level. Unlike Gu Yao's skyrocketing cultivation base, Gu Yao's cultivation base did not improve much after plucking them this time. The majority of the gains were taken away by Gu Yao's cultivation base. As a result, the strongest cultivation base among Ning Fan's 4 elements became Gu Yao's cultivation base, which was at the peak Immortal King realm. The total amount of his magic power finally rose to 17,000 tribulations. In terms of the total amount of magic power, Ning Fan was enough to defeat most of the first-level quasi-saints in the Dharma-ending era. However, in terms of the purity of his magic power, Ning Fan felt a little awkward. After drinking more than 1,400 bowls of the soup, the purity of his magic power finally broke through to the 5th tribulation realm. However, there was still a long way to go before it reached the 6th tribulation realm. Unfortunately, he had already finished drinking the soup. If he wanted to quickly increase the purity of his magic power, he would have to think of another way. Brother Ning, what exactly have you been doing in the past half a month? I'm afraid your strength has increased by a huge margin. I actually feel a hint of pressure when I stand in front of you. Old ancestor Lei Zhe asked enviously. Ning Fan just smiled and did not answer him. How should I answer him? Should I tell him that I've been busy having sex day and night for the past half a month? It's not appropriate to tell others about such a private matter, right? Since he had already used up all the ant seeds, he could no longer improve the purity of his magic power by staying here any longer. Thus, Ning Fan already planned to leave. However, at this moment, the soft mud monster made a request in a weak voice. Brother Hero, can you do me a small favor? A very, very small favor. What favor? Steal something. Steal what? The soft mud monster carefully activated a soundproof barrier and whispered to Ning Fan. Steal merit. After this is done, we'll split it 50-50. Steal merit? Ning Fan was stunned. He did not understand. You get 60% and I get 40%. The soft mud monster became anxious. She thought that her brother Hero was unwilling to do it. 73. 82. 91 should be fine, right? Alright. You win. You're my brother Hero after all. You can take it all. Just leave enough merit points for me to break the curse. I've had enough of the mud curse on my body. Ning Fan still could not figure out what the soft mud monster wanted to do. However, there was one thing that Ning Fan understood. His little mud had been cursed and turned into mud. He needed merit points to break the curse. As for him, he needed to help little mud steal merit points. Are you going to help me or not? Aren't you her hero brother now? Sob. The soft mud monster began to whine. Speak normally and I can consider it. Little Mud had cooked so much ant seed soup for him. He did not mind helping it out a little. At the same time, Mother Yin and Hua Kun, who were far away in the 12th level of the Earth Abyss, finally broke free from Ning Fan's illusion technique. The two of them wanted to kill Ning Fan. They wanted to tear him into pieces. They wanted to chop that bastard who claimed to be their master, and took their maidservants by force into minced meat and feed them to the dogs. Reporting to the high priest, there's a cultivator from the illusion world outside the hall asking for an audience. While the two of them were fuming inside the hall, a report suddenly came from outside the hall. Who is it? Mother Yin asked coldly. She was in a bad mood. How could she speak in a friendly tone? It's the Taoist of the water sect, Fu Suchen. Fu Suchen? I've never heard of it. Ask him to get lost. Mother Yin directly ordered them to leave. But what? Before Mother Yin could ask about the details, she suddenly heard a cold snort coming from outside the hall. The power of that snort actually shattered the protective formation of the Hall of the Light Ant Clan. Seeing this scene, Mother Yin and Hua Kun were shocked. Then they saw two rude figures barging into the hall. Junior Fu Suchen greets the High Priest of the Holy Ant Sect and Miss Hua Kun. Fu Suchen cupped his fists in a graceful manner. His handsome face always carried a smile, as if he was not the one who barged into the hall. Humph! Standing behind Fu Suchen was the stone puppet Immortal Stone, who had a cultivation base at the Quasi-Saint realm. Immortal Stone raised his nose to the sky and looked extremely arrogant. The person who destroyed the formation of the hall with just a snort was obviously him. Oh. It turns out that the quasi-saint of the water sect has arrived. Please forgive me for not going out to welcome you. Mother Yin and Hua Kun exchanged glances and saw the joy in each other's eyes. If it was during normal times, Mother Yin would definitely be enraged when someone barged into the Holy Ant sect. However, it was different today. She was just worried that she could not enter the 13 vertebrae to kill Ning Fan. The people from the water sect could be her helper and enter the 13 vertebrae as outsiders. In that case, she did not want to pursue the matter of them offending her. Humph. Stop talking nonsense to Grandpa Immortal Stone. Hurry up and return the heaven-battling jade umbrella in your hands. That belongs to our water sect. You are not allowed to touch it. Master has ordered us to come to the Earth Abyss this time for 2 missions. One is to help Little Daozi and Bei Xiaoman improve their relationship. The other is to make a deal with the Light Ant clan and take back the heaven-battling jade umbrella. If either of these 2 things are not done, I, your grandfather, will have to bear the consequences. If you are sensible, quickly hand over the heaven-battling jade umbrella. If you don't, let's have a fight. Immortal Stone said arrogantly. He was just a first-level quasi-saint. How dare he be so rude and unreasonable to Mother Yin, who was a second-level quasi-saint? How brainless. Considering that he was just a stone puppet, it was understandable that his intelligence was low. However, Mother Yin and Hua Kun obviously would not forgive Immortal Stone's rudeness just because of that. Fu Suchen's expression changed drastically. He did not expect that Immortal Stone would still be so arrogant in the territory of the Light Ant clan. He immediately glared at Immortal Stone. Unknowingly, Immortal Stone, who was acting like a king just a moment ago, immediately shut his mouth obediently after Fu Suchen glared at him, as if he had something on him. Mother Inmu's expression immediately became somewhat gloomy. Immortal Stone was so rude. If it was in the past, she would definitely teach him a lesson. However, once she thought about the 13 vertebrae, she was a little shaken. She thought that it would not be too late to teach Immortal Stone a lesson after this matter was over. Thus, in an instant, she squeezed out a small smile and diverted the trouble to them. Are you 2 here for the heaven-battling jade umbrella? Yes. This umbrella is of great significance to our water sect. Since our sect has found out the whereabouts of this umbrella, we must retrieve it no matter what, Fu Suchen said. Even if we have to snatch it by force, we still have to retrieve it. Mother Yin's phoenix eyes narrowed. The enormous aura of a second-level quasi-saint pressed down like the sky. After being suppressed by this aura, the arrogant Immortal Stone's expression changed drastically. Fear appeared in his eyes. On the other hand, Fu Suchen seemed to have a secret treasure to protect himself. Even though he was just an immortal king, his expression did not change at all. He smiled faintly and said, "Great priest, you must be joking. Of course, we won't snatch it by force. My sect will give us a sufficient reward in exchange for this umbrella. Of course, if Great Priest insists on refusing, it won't be pleasant when my master comes personally." Fu Suchen's master was a second-level titled quasi-saint. Mother Yin could look down on Fu Suchen, but she could not look down on the people behind him. Of course, she was not really afraid of them. The Light Ant clan was not even afraid of the Light clan. Why would they be afraid of the water sect? Mother Yin's expression did not show it, but she was sneering inwardly. The people of the water sect actually came for the heaven-battling jade umbrella. What a coincidence. It seems like these 2 people are willing to enter the 13 vertebrae to kill Ning Fan without her purposeful provocation. The heaven-battling jade umbrella is no longer in our hands. After a long while, Mother Yin spoke again. Impossible. Subconsciously, Fu Suchen did not believe it. However, when he saw Mother Yin's expression did not seem to be lying, he immediately took out a golden compass from his storage pouch and carefully measured it. As soon as he did, Fu Suchen's expression turned ugly. Mother Yin did not lie to him. The heaven-battling jade umbrella has really changed owners. Great Priest, may I ask where the heaven-battling jade umbrella is now? If Great Priest is willing to tell me its whereabouts, I am willing to give you a gift as repayment, Fu Suchen said with a bitter smile. Humph. There's no need for a gift. As for the whereabouts of the heaven-battling jade umbrella, I won't tell you. Not long ago, my light ant clan was robbed. The heaven-battling jade umbrella was stolen by a thief. If you want to know the whereabouts of this umbrella, you have to help my clan with some matters. This is the exchange. Chapter 1205. Rain suddenly fell on the 13 vertebrae. It had nothing to do with Ningfan. It was caused by the weather in the 13 vertebrae. It was not an ordinary rain. If he had to describe it, it was more like the acid secreted by ants. If it was an ordinary acid rain, Ningfan would not be afraid. However, this acid rain was secreted by the world in the main spine of the ant. Therefore, even with Ningfan's physical strength, he did not dare to be drenched by the rain. Instead, he held a jade umbrella and walked in the drizzle. That umbrella was the heaven-battling jade umbrella that Ningfan obtained after killing the light ant and fusing with a quasi-saint realm expert. It was an innate mid-grade item. It could increase the user's offense and defense. At the same time, it was also a rare titled weapon of a rainmaster. When he held the umbrella in his hand, a faint feeling of rain blew against his face. When the umbrella was opened, immortal light turned into thousands of strands of silk ribbons, covering Ningfan within it. The drizzle from the 13 vertebrae could not fall on Ningfan at all. Ningfan held the umbrella and walked alone in the drizzle. His pace did not seem fast, but his body was like a ghost, flickering on the bloody ground. He seemed to be searching for something in the 13 vertebrae. Sometimes he would stop and take out a map covered in mud from his storage pouch. After studying it carefully, he would keep the map and continue walking. Why was Ningfan searching for something in the 13 vertebrae alone? It was a long story. The sludge monster was too tired. She had cooked 1,400 bowls of ant soup for Ningfan. Her mental strength was exhausted. Hence, even though she was the one who asked Ningfan for help, she only gave him a map of the 13 vertebrae. Then she ran to Ningfan's profound world and slept soundly. Old ancestor Lei Zhe was too much of a burden. Even though he was a titled quasi-saint realm expert, he could not be of much use. Instead, he was severely injured and it was difficult for him to even move. Old ancestor Lei Zhe accepted it and gave up. He felt that he probably did not have the qualifications to protect Ningfan anymore. Instead, he needed Ningfan's protection. Thus, he finally went back to his Wind Count's pouch to heal his injuries. Wind Count's pouch, on the other hand, was passed to Ningfan, meaning that he should hold the pouch and carry him on his journey so that he could save some energy. Of course, it was not a bad idea to lend this pouch to Ningfan temporarily. Never mind. Everyone should go and rest. As expected, it's better for Ningfan's team to be disbanded. Ningfan might as well bring Aphrodite and the others back to the profound world to rest. It was enough for him to help the sludge monster steal merit points alone. Ningfan began to move on his own to search for the 14th vertebra, which was also the entrance to the 14th level of the Earth Abyss. With the help of the map, Ningfan arrived at his destination after 1 hour. In front of him was a towering four-fingered mountain covered in talismans. According to the introduction of the map, the entrance to the 14th level was sealed under this four-fingered mountain. From afar, Mount Four Fingers looked like the claws of a bird. The peak of the mountain was filled with immortal mist, and there were illusory figures of immortal cranes flying back and forth. Little Mud said that the merit points she wants to steal are located in the 15th level of the Earth Abyss. From the 13th level onwards, if one wants to enter the lower levels, he or she will have to defeat the sealed true spirits of each level. Ningfan was secretly vigilant. He held the umbrella and approached the four-fingered mountain step by step. The moment he reached a distance of 1,000 zhang, a ray of divine light suddenly shot up to the sky and turned into a gigantic shadow of a winged bird. It looked down at Ningfan, who was the size of a grain of rice with its emotionless eyes. Of course, the size of a grain was relative to its enormous body. This winged bird was just a half-saint realm cultivator, and it was not a living being. However, the feeling it gave Ningfan was not any weaker than a first-level quasi-saint in the last realm. According to the sludge monster, this half-saint winged bird was a great ferocious demon in the true world when it was alive. Unfortunately, It offended omniscient old man and was killed by him. Its true spirit was refined into the mountain spirit of this mountain. Ant. Get lost. The 14th level isn't a place you can go. This wind bird has quite a bad temper. The first thing it opened its mouth was to mock Ning Fan, calling him an ant and asking him to get lost. Ning Fan smiled faintly. He could roughly imagine the cause of death of this wind bird. When this unlucky bird met omniscient old man when it was alive, it probably looked down on his nascent soul realm cultivation base and mocked him. That's why it died. A pitiful bird must have some hateful points. The ancients were right. If you don't get lost, you will die. Immemorial in wind quick. That half-saint wind bird was enraged by Ning Fan's disregard. It opened its mouth and breathed out billowing in wind. This wind was quite famous in the true world. Ordinary quasi-saints would not dare to face it head-on. If they were not careful, even a first-level quasi-saint might be sucked away or injured by this in wind. It was extremely powerful. With Ning Fan's eyesight, how could he not see the power of this wind? Within this in wind, countless transparent runes were flickering and the suction force was endless. Even with Ning Fan's strength, he could not stand steadily, and was almost sucked away by this in wind. What a familiar wind. It's the same type of wind that Mother In has. Ning Fan had forcefully occupied Mother In for half a month in the illusory realm. He was very familiar with the chi of wind on her body. If he is sucked away by this wind, even though Ning Fan was confident that he would not die, he could not guarantee that he would not be injured by this wind. That would not be good. Senior Lei Zhe might not be of much use, but his wind pouch is somewhat useful. Since old ancestor Lei Zhe had lent Ning Fan the pouch, Ning Fan naturally would not let this treasure sleep. Now that he was facing this wind bird, it was the perfect time for Fengbo's pouch to show off its might. Thus, Ning Fan held the umbrella with one hand and calmly opened Fengbo's pouch with the other, sucking away all the wind that the wind bird breathed out. Everything has its vanquisher. No matter how strong the wind bird was, it could not harm Ning Fan with its wind technique. It's impossible. What kind of pouch is this? Why is it so powerful? Immemorial in wind, rise again. More immemorial in wind was breathed out. Then, it was sucked away by Ning Fan again. Again. Immemorial in wind. 10 times the speed. Again. Immemorial in wind. 100 times the speed. This can't be real. Immemorial in wind. Immemorial in wind. Immemorial in wind. 1,000 times the speed. The wind bird could not remember how many times it had attacked Ning Fan. It was unwilling to admit it, but it had to admit that its in wind really could not harm Ning Fan at all. It had lost without any anger. Despicable little fellow. You won. You are qualified to enter the 14th floor. The wind bird no longer dared to fight Ning Fan. More than half of the immemorial in wind in its body had been taken away by Ning Fan. For some unknown reason, the in wind that was taken away could not be retrieved at all. All of them had become Ning Fan's spoils of war. It was really detestable. However, it only knew the immemorial in wind. Since it was countered by that move, it could not do anything to Ning Fan anymore. It could only admit defeat. Thank you for letting me win. Seeing that the other party really let him go, Ning Fan was happy to save himself some trouble. As for the immemorial in wind that was taken away, he did not really care about it. He was not a wind cultivator anyway. What was the use of that wind? Anyway, it was the wind that was collected from old ancestor Lei Zhe's pouch. He might as well just give it to him as the interest for borrowing this treasure. As the wind bird admitted defeat, the Four Fingers Mountain moved away on its own, revealing the sealed passageway. Ning Fan advanced along the passageway and soon, he arrived at the 14th floor of the Earth Abyss. At the same time, old ancestor Lei Zhe, who was recuperating in the world of the wind pouch, was suddenly overjoyed. This is actually the immemorial in wind. I just lent my pouch to younger brother Ning for a short while, and he actually absorbed so much immemorial in wind for me. What a terrifying amount. If I can absorb all of this in wind, not only will my injuries be completely healed as a titled wind cultivator, but my cultivation base will also improve tremendously. My lucky star. Younger brother Ning is really my lucky star. I have been stuck at the bottleneck for millions of years and my cultivation base has not improved at all. Younger brother Ning, you are really a good person. Fu Suchen seemed to have reached some kind of deal with the Light Ant clan. Eventually, he arrived at the entrance of the 13 vertebrae under the lead of the experts of the Light Ant clan. He crossed the bloodline gate and entered the world of flesh and blood within the 13 vertebrae. The immortal stone that Fu Suchen had brought along with him also entered the 13 vertebrae. He held a large umbrella magic treasure to shield Fu Suchen from the rain. The corrosive acid rain in this place was too strong. He did not dare to let Fu Suchen get hurt. Otherwise he would definitely be punished. The immortal stone was very angry. He was a high and mighty puppet of the water faction. He could hold the umbrella for little Taoist, but he was not willing to work for the Light Ant clan. Why should he help the Light Ant clan to catch the thief? Even if this was to find the heaven-battling Jade Umbrella, he was still very unhappy. Little Taoist, why did you compromise with the Light Ant clan? They have gone too far. We are already very aggrieved to work for them, but they still don't trust us. They actually used a secret technique to cut off half of your primordial spirit, and used it as a hostage. That is a primordial spirit. How could you give it to someone so easily? The immortal stone said angrily. If I didn't compromise like this, how could I gain their trust and enter this place to search for the whereabouts of the heaven-battling Jade Umbrella? Master said that the 13th level of the Earth Abyss is the forbidden area of the Light Ant clan. Not to mention outsiders like us. Even the members of the Light Ant clan are greatly restricted when they enter this place. You and I are just outsiders, so it is not surprising that they have a backup plan. However, I did not expect that they would dare to cut off half of my primordial spirit and use it as a hostage. This is simply too much. If the Light Ant clan wasn't so strong, I would definitely settle this score with them. Speaking of which, I am more concerned about the secret technique they used to cut off my primordial spirit. They actually managed to cut off half of my primordial spirit without harming my primordial spirit. It must be a secret technique of the origin world. Fu Suchen's face was slightly pale, and his expression was gloomy and cold. Half of his primordial spirit was cut off and left in the hands of the Light Ant clan as a hostage. Even though he was not injured, his aura was still a little weak. He had a trace of hatred towards the Light Ant clan, and had to endure it in his heart. Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's think about how to catch that thief. I don't know where the thief who stole the heaven-battling Jade Umbrella is hiding in the 13th level. Little Taoist, why don't you take out the heaven-battling Jade Umbrella's marking compass and check the umbrella's location? The immortal stone said. Yes, I was planning to do that. Fu Suchen endured the feeling of weakness in his body and took out the golden compass to confirm the location of the heaven-battling Jade Umbrella. When he saw the jade green light spot on the compass, Fu Suchen revealed a satisfied smile. It seemed that the woman from the Light Ant clan did not lie. The heaven-battling Jade Umbrella was really here. However, immediately, Fu Suchen could not smile anymore. The jade green light spot on the compass suddenly moved. According to the compass, it was actually moving towards the deeper level of the Earth Abyss. Damn it! That thief is hiding in the 14th level. Little Taoist, what should we do now? The stinky woman from the Light Ant clan only allowed us to enter the 13th level and strictly ordered us not to enter the 14th level. Otherwise, she will make a move on Little Taoist's primordial spirit. The immortal stone was very anxious. What are you afraid of? I have a secret treasure to conceal the heavenly secrets. If you don't tell us, and I don't tell you, who will know that we have been to the lower level? Moreover, the 13th level itself seems to have the magical effect of concealing the heavenly secrets. This makes it even more convenient for us to act. Master has always been very interested in the secret of the Light Ant clan. If we can sneak into the 14th level and peek into the great secret of the Light Ant clan, Master will definitely reward us greatly when we return. Fu Suchen sneered and said. He did not take the promise to the Light Ant clan to heart at all. Haha. Let's do it. We will sneak into the 14th level and peek into the secret of the Light Ant clan. The immortal stone was very excited when he heard that he could take revenge on the Light Ant clan. Wrong. Not us. You will sneak into the 14th level alone. The 14th level is very dangerous. My cultivation level is not high, and I have temporarily lost half of my primordial spirit. If I enter the dangerous place rashly and something happens to me, can you bear the responsibility? Fu Suchen said coldly. All right. When we arrive at the entrance of the 14th level, little Daoist will stay here. This old man will enter the 14th level alone to catch the little thief. The immortal stone's expression was not very good, but he still smiled apologetically to Fu Suchen. A dignified quasi-saint living like a dog was really sullen. With the compass, the two of them quickly arrived at the Four-Finger Mountain. When he saw the magnificent immortal chi of the Four-Finger Mountain soaring into the sky, the immortal stone was instantly inspired to write a poem. Good mountain. Good Four-Finger Immortal Mountain. I want to recite a poem for this scenery. Good Four-Finger Mountain, damn it, not bad. Living on the immortal mountain, I will also sit down. Bright moonlight in front of the bed, I will drink rice soup. I will drink a big bowl, urinate on my crotch at night. Ha 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 ha. Delightful. Delightful. Little Daoist. What do you think of this old man's poem? This poem seems a little. Fu Suchen did not know how to evaluate it. Suddenly, the Four-Finger Mountain shone with divine light, and an illusory giant bird appeared in the clouds. Stop fooling around. I didn't expect the entrance of the 14th level to be guarded by a mountain spirit. Wind bird? What a rare demon species. Moreover, it seems to have cultivated a true spirit. Unfortunately, it is only a quasi-saint. It is not worth mentioning. Senior Immortal Stone, it is up to you. I will give you half an hour to kill this bird. Fu Suchen said coldly. Easy. A mere quasi-saint dares to block my way? You are really courting death. I will let you see the power of Grandpa Immortal Stone. When Immortal Stone saw the enemy, he immediately lost the mood to write a poem. He handed the big oil umbrella to Fu Suchen, and returned to his usual posture. He waved his hand, and a giant green stone sword appeared in his hand. He carried the giant sword and flew into the sky, drenched in the curtain of rain. He was about to kill this wind bird. This immortal stone has a terrifying physical defense. The corrosive power of the Ant Lord's acid rain was extremely strong. Even Ning Fan had to be wary of it. However, he was not afraid at all. He used his physical body to resist the acid rain, and remained unscathed. It was truly amazing. Logically speaking, with his powerful strength, he should have a great advantage in dealing with a quasi-saint wind bird. However, one should not forget that this wind bird was not a quasi-saint in the degenerate era, but a quasi-saint of the true world. The strength of this bird could not be measured by the standard of the degenerate era. Instead, it should be measured by the standard of the ancient Chaos Great Emperor's era. In the end, Immortal Stone was still too careless. In that era, immortal emperors and quasi-saints were not necessarily weak. It was highly possible for them to kill ancient great cultivators. You are just a stone puppet. How dare you be so reckless? Do you think you can defeat me like that kid in the pocket in front of you? Do you think you can withstand my immortal ancient Yin Wind? The immortal ancient Yin Wind, 1,000 times speed rose. With Ning Fan's lesson this time, the wind bird used its strongest wind speed. As the immortal ancient Yin Wind swept across the sky, Immortal Stone's expression changed greatly. He turned around and ran. It was not that he did not know how powerful the immortal ancient Yin Wind was. Because of that, he immediately became terrified when he saw the immortal ancient Yin Wind's chi. This immortal ancient Yin Wind was not a killing technique, but a subduing technique. Moreover, it was the kind of technique that could subdue enemies that were stronger than him. Immortal Stone was confident that he would not be killed by this Yin Wind. However, he did not think that he could withstand the suction force of this wind. As expected, with just one move, the wind bird forcefully took away the Immortal Stone, and brought him into the Yin Wind world that it had refined for many years. On the contrary, Fu Suchen was alert. At the moment when the immortal ancient Yin Wind approached him, He suddenly turned into water droplets and sprinkled on the ground. He mixed with the rainwater and became indistinguishable. Rain escaping technique. It was the water sect's most famous escaping technique. The speed of escaping was not fast, but it could be used to avoid a lot of divine abilities that would kill in a single strike. It was quite powerful. Aw. Little Taoist, why are you running alone? Why didn't you bring me along? Aw. It hurts so much. The wind blades in this damn bird's wind world are so powerful. Damn it. I am not its enemy who killed the bird. Why did it try to kill me as soon as it saw me? It didn't even give me a chance to slow down. The immortal stone's miserable shriek came from the empty sky, which was very frightening. Humph. A bunch of ants. You guys are not comparable to that pocket brat. You are too weak. This time, I will only teach you a small lesson. If you dare to break into the 14th floor again, I will take your dog life. The wind bird snorted disdainfully. It dispersed its phantom body and went back to sleep in the Four-Finger Mountain. After an unknown period of time, the space above the Four-Finger Mountain was suddenly shattered. Then the immortal stone, who was covered in blood, escaped from it. He was both shocked and frightened. Powerful. Too powerful. This was the power of the immortal ancient wind. Unless one's cultivation was much higher than the wind controller, one would not be able to resist the suction force of this wind. The immortal stone ran all the way out of the Four-Finger Mountain before he stopped. He wiped the blood and rainwater off his face and heaved a sigh of relief. What should we do now, little Taoist? With our ability, we are not able to resist the immortal ancient wind. We can't break into the 14th floor of the earth abyss. The immortal stone said unwillingly. He was obviously talking to the empty air, but there was a strange response. Humph. What else can we do? Let's just wait here. I don't believe that the little thief won't come up after going down to the 14th floor. He will definitely come up again. Gee. The unscathed Fu Suchen appeared with the oil umbrella. It seemed that he was not hurt by the immortal ancient wind at all. However, his complexion seemed to be weaker than before. Obviously, using the rain escape technique to dodge that level of attack was very taxing on him. It was not as easy as it looked. Sigh, this wind bird is too powerful. Even this old man couldn't resist the wind of this bird. How did that thief kill his way to the 14th floor? Could it be that he is a second-level quasi-saint? The immortal stone was still somewhat dissatisfied and kept muttering. Senior is not a match for the wind bird, because you don't have a way to restrain the wind. That thief is different. He probably has a way to deal with it. Senior, don't think too highly of that thief. If that thief is really a second-level quasi-saint, why would he be afraid of the light ant tribe and hide here? He should be able to come and go as he pleases in the earth abyss. He would have already escaped without a trace. It's also our fault for not preparing well in advance. If we had asked Master for 1 or 2 ways to restrain the wind when we left the sect, we wouldn't be in such a difficult situation. The Count of Wind and Master of Rain are originally one family. Master has many ways to restrain the wind, Fu Suchen said regretfully. That's right. How could that thief be a second-level quasi-saint? There are only a few second-level quasi-saints in the entire northern heaven. There are only 10 of them. There is no thief that Grandpa Immortal Stone can't settle with 1 punch. If there is, then I'll use 2 punches. The Immortal Stone laughed heartily, recovering its arrogance with its nose pointed towards the sky. It laughed loudly while drenched in the acid rain, just like a fool. Ningfan did not know about Fu Suchen's unfortunate encounter. He also did not know that old ancestor Leisure was feeling happy about the unexpected harvest of the immemorial wind. He held the jade umbrella and arrived at the 14th floor of the earth abyss. What he saw was a boundless ocean. This ocean was not blue. Instead, it was pure and colorless. It emitted a dim light. It was a sea of light. Ningfan was not surprised to see such a sea of light in the territory of the Light Clan. He took out the map and looked at it. The path to the 15th floor seemed to be difficult. Many marks were marked on the map of the 14th floor. Each of them had a different color. They represented the different levels of danger in each area. According to the soft sludge monster. A part of the flesh of the Lord Ant that was suppressed had developed its own consciousness and evolved into an independent life form. It lived in this sea of light as a sea beast and was extremely difficult to deal with. It would be best if he could sneak to the 15th floor. If he encountered any sea beasts along the way, he would run away if he could and avoid fighting them if he could. After all, these sea beasts were so troublesome that even omniscient old man had a headache. He wished he could kill all of them. However, these sea beasts were almost immortal. He could only suppress them but not destroy them. So there are a group of undead creatures living here. Interesting. They better not provoke me. Otherwise. Ning Fan smiled. He held the umbrella and flew close to the surface of the sea. It was still raining. When the raindrops fell on the surface of the sea, it was as if countless illusions were breaking and vanishing on the surface of the water. Fate was just so annoying. The more you don't want to get into trouble, the more trouble will come to you. Ning Fan obviously did not want to pay attention to the sea beasts in this place. He even purposely chose the path that was less dangerous. However, his arrival still attracted the attention of some sea beasts. A sea turtle with Immortal King Realm cultivation base was hiding under the water. It had been tailing Ning Fan for an unknown period of time. In order not to alert the snake, Ning Fan did not fly at a fast speed. It was to reduce his presence. However, he was still targeted by the enemy. What else could he do? Get lost. Ning Fan snorted coldly and shouted at the sea turtle. That sea turtle seemed to be used to acting like a tyrant. It was confident that its undead creatures were strong. Thus, it did not put Ning Fan's threat in its eyes. Not only did it not retreat, but it also let out a strange roar and called for its companions. Not long after, more sea snakes, fishes and sea monsters surrounded them from all directions. All of them had strange appearances. That sea turtle was the first among them. When it leaped out of the water, its gigantic body was like a small island that appeared out of nowhere. It was too arrogant. The more Ning Fan ignored it, the more it thought that Ning Fan was weak and easy to bully. Thus, it spat out an arrow of water, trying to take Ning Fan's life. How troublesome. Ning Fan frowned. He held the umbrella with one hand and summoned the ocean-defying sword with the other. With one sword strike, he shattered the arrow of water. With another sword strike, he killed that arrogant sea turtle. So what if it's an Immortal King Realm expert? It can block the might of Ning Fan's sword strike. So what if it's an undead creature? When Ning Fan's sword contained the life-slaying sword intent, this level of undead was just like sending its head to its death. The island-like sea turtle was split into two halves. Then, its remaining body was detonated by the Heaven Goyu. Its blood dyed the sea of light red. The sword light split the surface of the sea like two water curtains retreating to both sides. Then the crack in the sea closed up. This group of evil creatures should know how strong I am now. Ning Fan muttered to himself and continued moving forward. However, he was wrong. His action of killing the Immortal King Realm sea turtle not only failed to intimidate the sea beasts in this place, but it also aroused their anger. The sea beasts here were transformed from the flesh and blood of the Lord Ant. They were born with the arrogance of a saint. Of course, they did not have the strength to match a saint. However, that did not stop them from being arrogant. Ning Fan dared to kill a sea turtle, which was equivalent to waving his sword at a saint. How could the sea beasts who claimed to be saints tolerate such provocation? Roar! More sea beasts rushed over from all directions. The atmosphere on the 14th level, which was originally heavy, became incomparably noisy. Do you really have to court death? Alright then. I will put aside the matter of Little Mud, and collect a few gourds of blood spirits first. An immortal venerate realm sea fish that was arrogant broke through the waves and attacked Ning Fan with its corrosive poison. Then, Ning Fan directly swallowed its poison into his stomach. Obviously, this level of corrosive poison could not harm Ning Fan at all. Then he swung his sword and killed the immortal venerate realm sea fish. His sword chi swept across 3,000 li. Many weak and small sea beasts were cut into pieces by the sword chi before they could even get close to him. The red name of Heaven's Will above Ning Fan's head became even redder. It was as if the more people he killed, the redder the name would become. An immortal emperor realm sea centipede with sharp blades growing all over its body charged at Ning Fan. However, so what if he was an immortal Emperor Realm cultivator? With a single slash of his sword, half of the body of the immortal Emperor Realm centipede exploded. The reason why the remaining half of its body was still intact was not because Ningfan failed to kill it, but because he deliberately left it with half of its life. He must capture an immortal Emperor Realm cultivator alive. Only by refining a living body could he create a gourd of blood spirits. If he kills it, he would only be able to create an undying ghost soldier. These two methods could not be carried out at the same time. The unlucky sea centipede was sucked away by the black wind gourd. The life-severing sword intent in its body was wreaking havoc, making it unable to mobilize its magic power to resist Ningfan's capture. Fortunately, it was an undead creature. It was not an easy task to turn it into a gourd of blood spirits. Unfortunately, Ningfan then infused the life-severing sword intent into the gourd, giving it the power to kill undead creatures. This immortal Emperor Centipede was the first blood spirit that Ningfan caught today. However, it would not be the last. Ningfan counted the number of sea beasts in this place. There were quite a number of immortal Emperor Realm sea beasts. He had more than enough to make 10 low-grade gourd blood spirits. After a long time, Ningfan's body was covered in blood. He held the heaven-battling jade umbrella that was also stained with blood, and could not be melted by the rain. Then he arrived at the entrance of the 15th floor. Behind him was a sea of floating corpses. The undead creatures that gave omniscient old man a headache were all massacred by Ningfan. There was an island floating on the surface of the sea in front of him. There was an immortal mountain on the island. It also had the appearance of a four-fingered mountain. It looked like a crane's claw that pierced the sky. It carried an air of arrogance, as if it was looking down on the entire world. When Ningfan arrived, the mountain spirit of the mountain immediately appeared, trying to stop Ningfan's path to the 15th floor. It was a half-saint realm mountain elf. At the same time, it was also an undead creature. Therefore, it was not sealed here after being killed by omniscient old man. It was sealed here with its life. Similar to the wind bird, it was also a living creature of the true world. Similarly, it was infamous in the true world. Not only did it have an undead body, but it was also proficient in a defensive technique. When combined with its undead body, its defense would increase by 10 times. Even a second-level quasi-saint would have a hard time killing it. In other words, as long as it guards this place, even a second-level quasi-saint like Mother Een would not be able to break through its defense and enter the 15th floor. Under its defense, the 15th floor had always been a virgin land. No one could step into it. Alright, omniscient old man was an exception. However, this mountain elf was confident that there would not be a second exception in this world that could freely enter and exit its territory. It had always believed that. Until it saw Ningfan, whose body was covered in blood, and the floating corpses behind him. The heavens have taken pity on me. Those floating corpses were not ordinary living creatures. They were all undead creatures. They were actually massacred by Ningfan in large groups. The mountain elf trembled a little. The sense of danger that Ningfan brought to it was too great. It could feel the threat of death from Ningfan's sword intent. It was so close to it. It had a strange intuition that the stronger its undead defense was, the greater the destructive power of this young man's sword intent. It would be enough to kill it. When it met Ningfan's cold eyes, which were still filled with killing intent, its trembling finally reached its limit, shattering all the pride it had since ancient times. Ningfan looked at the mountain elf, and did not pay much attention to it. From Ningfan's point of view, the undead power of this mountain elf was just slightly stronger than the corpse demon king before it transformed into a ghost soldier. However, compared to the corpse demon king, it was much weaker. After the corpse demon king turned into a ghost soldier, it had absorbed the undead power of the ghost flower of the netherworld. When such a level of undead power was stacked together, it was no longer something that a single life-slaying sword intent could severely injure. I want to go to the 15th floor. Is it convenient for you to let me pass? Yes, of course. Of course it's convenient. Senior, please help yourself. Senior, please have a safe journey. Senior, please conduct yourself with dignity. The mountain elf was terrified. Ningfan's forehead was filled with black lines. Those were the most cowardly words he had ever heard. He was just asking for a passage. He was not going to kidnap a woman. Conduct myself with dignity. Chapter 1206. The scenery was different from what Ning Fan had imagined. The 15th floor did not look like a dragon's pool or a tiger's den. It looked more like a paradise. What entered his sight was a glowing river that flowed across the entire 15th floor. It divided the land into two sides. The southern bank was filled with endless orange trees while the northern bank was filled with endless orange trees. The rain finally stopped. Ning Fan kept his umbrella and looked at the scene of orange trees in the south and orange trees in the north. His eyes flickered with green light and then turned solemn. He took out the map of the 15th floor. On the map, be it the orange trees in the south or the orange trees in the north, they were all marked with red marks by the sludge monster. It indicated that these two places were extremely dangerous. The river that flowed across the 15th floor was marked with an arrow. It indicated that Ning Fan should go down the river by water and not by land. The orange trees on both sides are all dangerous places. Ning Fan pondered for a long time. Suddenly, his body flashed and he flew to the southern bank. The moment he set foot on the southern bank, his eyes became lazy, as if he had seen through the mortal world and lost all interest in life. As soon as he reached the southern bank, he did not want to move anymore. He did not want to take another step. He had the absurd thought of turning into an orange tree and taking root in the southern bank, living here forever. As soon as this absurd thought appeared, his skin began to harden, showing signs of turning into tree bark. Roots began to grow from the soles of his feet and took root in the soil of the southern bank. Break! Green light suddenly shone in Ning Fan's eyes, forcefully shattering the absurd thought in his mind. Without saying anything, he flew out of the southern bank and stood in midair. The moment he flew away, all the absurd thoughts in his mind disappeared along with the tree transformation on his body. Is this the reason why the southern bank is marked as a dangerous place? If it's a weaker cultivator, I'm afraid they would be corroded by the absurd thought and turn into an orange tree forever, dying here. If I recklessly step on the northern bank, I'm afraid I'll end up with the same outcome. I initially thought that the scenery of the orange trees and orange trees here was not bad. Now it seems like these orange trees and orange trees were transformed from the living beings that died here. It was Ning Fan's first time seeing such a killing technique. Considering that this place was formed from the flesh and bones of the Lord Ant, this killing technique was probably the Lord Ant's doing. Of course, it was also possible that the orange trees and orange trees here were the work of the omniscient old man. Who knows? Sure enough, we can only go by water. Speaking of which, just when Ning Fan planned to take the water route, a grasshopper boat floated towards him on the river, as if it wanted to guide him to the depths of the 15th floor. The appearance of this boat was too strange. It was as if it appeared out of thin air with just a thought from Ning Fan. Ning Fan did not board the boat, because this grasshopper boat did not have a bottom. The bottomless boat seemed ordinary, but Ning Fan's intuition, which had been tempered by life and death situations, allowed him to sense the danger of this boat. If one's cultivation wasn't high enough and recklessly boarded the ship, there might be unforeseen circumstances. With this in mind, he ignored the bottomless boat and flew down the river on his own. He thought that he would be able to reach the end by flying like a boat. However, after flying for 3 days, he still hadn't reached the end. Strange. Even if I didn't fly at full speed, I used at least 70% of my full speed. But I still can't see the end after flying for 3 days. This is seriously inconsistent with the distance marked on the map. The distance on the map isn't this far. Ning Fan wanted to use his rain technique to see how far he still had to go. However, just as his rain technique was activated, a ray of clear sunlight fell from the sky and extinguished his rain technique. His rain technique was actually restricted by this world. Ning Fan then turned his head to look at the path he came from. However, there was no trace of the path he came from. The path he had walked on had already disappeared. There was no turning back to the shore. This was too abnormal. He could not even leave the 15th floor using the same path he came from. With so many strange things happening in front of him, Ning Fan no longer rushed forward recklessly. Instead, he stopped in midair and pondered with a frown. As if it had sensed Ningfan's troubles, the bottomless boat appeared again without him noticing and floated towards Ningfan. It seems like I won't be able to reach the end of this river without using some special methods. So, I can only board the boat, huh? Ningfan remained vigilant and descended towards the bottomless boat. Speaking of strange things, the boat was obviously bottomless, but he could actually stand on it. It was really mysterious. Just as he was planning to study the mysteries of the boat in detail, he suddenly felt an extremely subtle strange feeling in his body. If it wasn't for Ningfan's senses that were far superior to cultivators at the same level as him, he would definitely not be able to notice this strange feeling in his body. He tried to find the source of the strange feeling. After searching for a while, he was surprised to find that his primordial spirit and physical body were showing signs of being forcefully separated. What was standing on the bottomless boat right now was not his physical body. It was actually his primordial spirit. As for his physical body, more than half of it had already separated from his primordial spirit and was sinking towards the river below the bottomless boat. As he was standing on the boat, he could not directly sense the separation of his physical body. Fortunately, his heaven-defying senses allowed him to notice it. If he had noticed it a little later, his physical body would probably have already sunk into the river and be destroyed by the unknown power in the river. I really can't be careless at all. My physical body has returned to its original position. Ningfan displayed his ability and his physical body immediately returned to its original position, becoming one with his primordial spirit again. Seeing that Ningfan did not cooperate with it and sink his physical body, the bottomless boat became unhappy. It stopped moving forward. It actually forcefully stopped the advancement of the river and stopped at the center of the river. This scene made it seem like Ningfan would never move forward unless he abandoned his physical body. If he doesn't board this boat, he would not be able to reach the end of the river. If he doesn't board this boat, he would not be able to leave the 15th floor either. It had the confidence to force Ningfan to give in. If it were someone else who could not move forward or retreat, they would more or less be a little nervous. However, who was Ningfan? He had seen all kinds of desperate situations before. How could he possibly be trapped by a mere bottomless boat? This boat seems to have a bad temper. Then, I'll just pacify it a little. Ningfan had always been very tolerant towards strange things. I won't open it. I won't open it. I won't open it for mortals. Those who don't shed their mortal bodies are not allowed to board the boat. Go down. Quickly go down. Don't you know the rules at all? Ningfan used his ability to communicate with all living things and easily heard the voice of the bottomless boat. It was something that others could not do, but it was not difficult for Ningfan. Brother boat, can't you make an exception for me? You can actually hear my voice. You. Could it be that you are a deity? The bottomless boat was shocked. Wow. This fellow's spiritual intelligence is quite high. He can actually converse with Ningfan so clearly. Ningfan's eyes immediately lit up. According to his past experience, it seemed like only the ghost flower of the netherworld could converse with such high spiritual intelligence while communicating with all living things. Could this shabby boat be in existence on the same level as the ghost flower of the netherworld? Could it be that it's not a shabby boat but a treasured boat? So what if I'm a deity? So what if I'm not a deity? Ningfan smiled and said noncommittally. If you're a deity, all the more I can't help you. Deities are the enemies of our immortal spirit clan. Hey. Little brother, you haven't answered me yet. Are you a deity or not? The bottomless boat asked nervously. Of course I'm not a deity. Ningfan lied without blushing. If he did not lie, why would he be a devil? Phew. Fortunately, you're not a deity. If that's the case, I don't have to be afraid of you. Little brother, you don't know that as a member of the Immortal Spirit Clan, I fear deities the most. All deities are bad people. They have an innate bloodline suppression on immortal spirits, and they have the advantage of being superior. They can also use their own divine blood to forcefully form a blood pact with a pure-blooded immortal spirit. You don't know how scary a blood pact is. The bottomless boat seemed to have not conversed with anyone for many years. When it saw that Ningfan could converse with it, it immediately became a chatterbox. It couldn't be helped. It had been too many years since it spoke. Blood pact. What's that? Little brother, since you can converse with a pure-blooded immortal spirit like me, you should also be a pure-blooded immortal spirit. Why haven't I heard of blood pact with deities? In Master Boat's era, it's impossible for any pure-blooded immortal spirit to not know about it. Oh my, I forgot about it. Ha ha ha. Look at Master Boat's memory. The deities have long been eradicated by our immortal spirit clan. Times have changed. There aren't even many pure-blooded immortal spirits left. Your elders must have felt that there's no need to be wary of deities anymore. That's why they didn't tell you about the scariness of blood pact with deities. The bottomless boat tried its best to imagine. Ningfan's lips suddenly curled into an inexplicable smile. He had a feeling that this bottomless boat might be an idiot. Brother Boat, you really know a lot. You actually know about blood pact with deities. Impressive. Ningfan casually praised. Ha ha ha. That's right. Not only does Master Boat know about blood pact with deities, but he also knows how to draw the mark of the blood pact. Master Boat's previous master taught him all of this. He is the previous saint of the chaotic Koan sacred sect. Master Boat used to be his servant. What kind of secret technique does he not know? Blood pact with deities is nothing. After being flattered by Ningfan, the bottomless boat instantly became complacent. It did not even know where it was anymore. One secret after another was revealed to Ningfan like it was free of charge. Chaotic Koan sacred sect? The previous saint of the chaotic Koan sacred sect? Ningfan was a little interested in the previous saint that the bottomless boat mentioned. Of course, he was more interested in the blood pact with deities. Brother Boat actually knows how to draw the blood pact with deities? That's really amazing. I really want to see the blood pact that Brother Boat draws. Ha ha ha. Alright. If you want to see it, Master Boat will draw it for you. No. Master Boat is getting a little carried away. My previous master said that this is a great secret of heaven and earth. It can't be taught to outsiders. Besides, you're not a deity. Even if you know that blood pact with deities can't be used, it's useless for you to learn it. Outsider? Why would Brother Boat think that I'm an outsider? Look, what is this? Ningfan's expression remained unchanged as he took out the sea-defying sword. The sea-defying sword was also known as the high-grade disciple sword of the chaotic Koan sacred sect. It was the proof of identity of the people of the chaotic Koan race. It was not that only the disciples of the chaotic Koan race could hold the sword. Instead, holding the sword would make you a disciple of the chaotic Koan race, and it would acknowledge your identity. This boat has eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. It turns out that Senior is a high-grade disciple of the chaotic Koan sacred sect. I'm sorry. I've been too disrespectful. The bottomless boat immediately became terrified as if Ningfan's special identity was something that it could not afford to offend. Now, Brother Boat, can you draw the blood pact with deities for me? Ningfan asked with a smile. Yes. Of course you can. However, there's one thing that this boat still has to remind Senior. This blood pact with deities is too dangerous. You don't know that the owner of the blood pact won't be able to detect it. In ancient times, countless pure-blooded immortal spirits were secretly planted with this kind of pact. Unknowingly, their temperament was changed by the other party, and they would listen to the words of the owner of the pact. While the bottomless boat was explaining the terror of the blood pact with deities, it circulated its ability and created ripples on the surface of the river. The ripples spread out in circles and then condensed into an extremely complicated diagram of the pact. It was the diagram of the blood pact with deities. Ningfan only took a glance at it and memorized the lines of the blood pact. After that, he bit the tip of his finger and squeezed out a drop of his blood, flicking it towards the bottomless boat. As soon as the blood touched the body of the bottomless boat, it immediately turned into the lines of the blood pact and imprinted itself on the body of the boat. A moment later, the lines disappeared as if they had evaporated into the air. However, they had actually seeped into the depths of the bottomless boat's consciousness. Unbelievable. Senior is really a genius. You only took a look at it once, and you've already memorized such complicated lines. The bottomless boat did not really care about Ningfan's action of dripping his blood on it. It just thought that Ning Fan was just trying to play around with the blood pact he had just learned. However, the truth was that it had already been recognized by Ning Fan's blood. It still had no idea. No idea. You don't have to flatter me with your words. These lines are actually not complicated. I just happen to be good at it. No. Isn't it natural for a servant to flatter his master? This is strange. Why do I have to call you master? The bottomless boat was bewildered. It turned out that the blood pact had already taken effect, and was subtly changing its consciousness. All right, let's not talk anymore. Brother boat, let's hurry up. Ning Fan urged. It was strange. The bottomless boat obviously had its own principles. It would only ferry saints and not mortals. However, it still obediently obeyed Ning Fan's order, and carried Ning Fan all the way down the river. It did not have any temper at all. It completely obeyed Ning Fan's words. The bottomless boat could not sense that it was under the blood pact. Even if it had doubts about this matter, the power of the blood pact would automatically erase all its doubts. It would never be able to sense this matter. The blood pact was really overbearing and terrifying. Unfortunately, this technique was only effective on pure-blooded immortal spirits. It had no effect on other living beings. It was very targeted. No wonder the Divine Spirit clan was overthrown. Their existence had seriously threatened the survival of the other clans. Ning Fan sighed in his heart. He had unexpectedly learned the blood pact, and subdued a bottomless boat. He had to admit that his luck during this period of time was really good. However, he was not overly excited because the blood pact was really not very practical. It was only effective on pure-blooded immortal spirits. In the era that Ning Fan was in, it was almost useless. Therefore, he could only use it to bully the bottomless boat. As for subduing the bottomless boat, Ning Fan was also not too excited. This boat seemed to be just a low-grade innate magical treasure. It was not a big deal even if he picked up a magical treasure of this grade for free. Ning Fan had underestimated the power of the bottomless boat. In the beginning, he only treated the boat as a means of transportation in this level. After leaving this place, he probably would not need the boat anymore. At least, that was what he thought. However, he was wrong again. The grade of this bottomless boat was indeed not high. However, it was definitely not an ordinary magical treasure. This treasure could actually help one become a saint. In order to become a saint, one must first be reborn. When Ning Fan's physical body fell into the river just now, it was actually a kind of rebirth. Unfortunately, his cultivation realm was far from reaching the threshold of becoming a saint. It was still a little too early for him to undergo rebirth. If he forcefully tries to do so, he would only lose his physical body in vain. It would not bring him any benefits. Even if the grade of a treasure that could help one become a saint was not high, it could still be sold at a sky-high price in the true world. In the past, the Lord Ant had relied on the help of the bottomless boat a lot to become a saint. Only God knew how much effort she had put in to steal a bottomless boat from the chaotic Koan sacred sect. Today, Ning Fan was the one who benefited from it. Ning Fan did not need to spend much effort. All he did was to deceive her with a few words. If the Lord Ant knew about this, she would probably die of anger. Of course, the bottomless boat did not only have the ability to help one become a saint. It was also known as no water that can cross. It meant that there was no river, lake or ocean that it could not sail on. The one in front of him was an example. The river on the 15th floor was affected by the Lord Ant's ability. Ordinary people would never be able to reach the end. However, to the bottomless boat, this was not a problem at all. This kind of small path was not difficult for it. It could easily break through the magic techniques and sail to the end of the river, coming and going freely. With the bottomless boat leading the way, Ning Fan reached the end of the river in just one day and one night. What appeared in front of him was a mountain. It was a Dao mountain. It was a gigantic mountain that was formed by the Lord Ant's Dao sense. Its height was immeasurable. It's actually a Dao mountain. The thing that little mud wants seems to be at the top of the mountain. Ning Fan stood at the bow of the bottomless boat at the end of the river. Looking at the immeasurable Dao mountain of the saint, which was the Lord Ant, he actually felt like an ant trying to shake a tree. Is this the Dao of a saint? Ning Fan felt a little difficult to breathe. This Tao mountain was too heavy. It was not the weight of the material level, but the weight of the great Tao. Just by facing this mountain, Ning Fan felt that his Tao sense had the urge to crawl on the ground uncontrollably. It would probably be even more difficult for him to ascend to the peak. Master, you must not ascend this Tao mountain. Not only does this Tao mountain contain part of the Lord Ant's personal belongings, but it also contains part of the Lord Ant's scattered soul. When the bottomless boat saw that Ning Fan had the intention to ascend the mountain, it immediately tried to dissuade him. It completely did not realize that it was inappropriate for it to address Ning Fan as its master. The influence of the blood contract with the divine spirit was too great. Scattered soul? What's that? Ning Fan asked. When a saint's soul is scattered and doesn't die, it is called scattered soul. The bottomless boat answered. I don't really understand. Forget it. When I ascend this mountain, I will naturally know what scattered soul is. Ning Fan did not listen to the bottomless boat's advice. He displayed his ability and turned the bottomless boat into a small boat. Then he kept it in the treasure vault of the profound Een world. Obviously, he had already regarded this bottomless boat as his private property. The reason why he did not listen to the bottomless boat's advice was not because he did not know how dangerous this place was. He had always been a man of his words. Since he had promised to help the sludge monster, it was impossible for him to give up halfway. Whether the path ahead was filled with great danger or the scattered soul of a saint, it would not change his principle. At the same time, when Ning Fan ascended the Tao mountain of the Ant Lord, the omniscient old man who was far away in the 6th level of the earth abyss finally completed the last part of the stone warrior puppet. You've helped my cultivation base improve tremendously. However, I won't thank you. The stone warrior puppet stared at the omniscient old man with fear. I'm not doing this because of your gratitude, but because of the promise I made with little friend Ning. He allowed me to experiment on him, and I did some small things for him. It's a fair deal. All right. I won't talk nonsense with you anymore. Go and find that little devil Bei Xiaomen yourself. I've been busy for so many days. It's time for me to take a look at little friend Ning's cultivation data. I don't know what little friend Ning has been cultivating during this period of time. I arranged for Brother Xiang to guide him, because I hope that Brother Xiang will impart to him the cultivation experience of extreme strength. Brother Xiang has been teaching him for so many days. That kid's physical strength should have improved a lot, right? His foundation is not bad. If he cultivates to the limit, his strength will definitely increase by a lot. The omniscient old man smiled. The omniscient old man excitedly went to ask the elephant demon. He thought that Ning Fan had been cultivating his strength with the elephant demon. But he was wrong. Ning Fan did not cultivate his strength. Instead, he cultivated the purity of his magic power. He did not cultivate with the elephant demon. Instead, he was arranged by the elephant demon to cultivate with the sludge monster. Nonsense. You actually arranged for little friend Ning to be teleported to the 12th level of the Earth Abyss. Do you know how dangerous that place is? That is the base camp of the light ant race. If he is killed by the light ants, where can I find such precious experimental materials? The omniscient old man was furious. More than that, he was worried about Ning Fan. That kind of worry was not only for the experimental materials, but also for a hidden emotion that he himself was not aware of. Master, this subordinate has already told him about the dangers of the 12th level. It was this kid who insisted on going. The elephant demon was a little scared. He had never seen his master so angry before. No, he had actually seen it once. That day, a certain ant saint was greedy and wanted to devour the big chun tree that his master had been guarding for many years. That day, his master ignored the warning of ancestor Hongjun. He stubbornly went his own way and killed his fellow sect members. He forcefully suppressed the Ant Lord and offended all the ancient sects in the mountain and sea realm. In a daze, the elephant demon seemed to see that crazy figure, the heaven-defying demonic crane that dared to go against the entire world. So what if it's the Ant Lord? So what if it's Hongjun? No one can hurt this old man's junior brother. Not even the heavenly king. Anyone who dares to hurt half a branch of the big chun tree will be killed. His master's angry roar from back then was still ringing in his ears, causing the elephant demon's heart to tremble. He missed the hot-blooded life of following his master in the past. It was only for a little bit of faith in his heart that he dared to go against the heavens and live up to his youth. But as time passed, he finally grew old. His master was no longer the heaven-defying demonic crane of the past. Instead, he had become an old man who had escaped into the purple battle illusory world, living in seclusion and enjoying the human world. There was nothing wrong with this. As long as its master was happy, the elephant demon was willing to bury its nature and follow its master to live a peaceful life of doing experiments. But, was master really happy like this? He couldn't even remember who he was, and he was about to forget the sect that he once regarded as important as his life. Was he really happy? Shut up. I don't want to hear any explanation right now. As long as Ningfan is alive, he must be alive. Light Ant Tribe? Holy Ant Sect? It's just my toy. If they dare to harm even half a finger of Ningfan's, I will annihilate their entire clan. Even if this action will awaken the Lord Ant again, I will not hesitate to do so. The omniscient old man did not waste any more time with the elephant demon. He activated the teleportation portal and directly teleported to the 12th level of the Earth Abyss. According to the elephant demon, Ningfan should be cultivating on this floor. But why can't I sense his chi at all? Could it be that when I was stupidly assembling the stone puppets, Ningfan had already been killed by those evil creatures of light ants? No. My master had told me to protect my junior brother well. No one is allowed to hurt my junior brother. No one is allowed to. Ants, give me an explanation. Otherwise, I will slaughter your entire clan. Give me back my junior brother. Hongjun, I will kill you. I will kill you. The omniscient old man had gone mad. His eyes were bloodshot, and tears of regret flowed out from his eyes. He could no longer differentiate reality from his memories. His rationality had been replaced by anger and regret. He did not protect his junior brother well. He failed to live up to his master's trust once again. Aha! He roared furiously. The mighty power contained in his roar actually had the potential to penetrate the 12th floor of the Earth Abyss. Even the world of the Lord Ant's spine could not stop the omniscient old man's wrath. The entire Light Ant tribe was in chaos. No one expected the omniscient old man to attack at this moment. No one expected the omniscient old man, who had been wandering around the Light Ancestors' Earth Abyss like a madman, would be so destructive when he released his full cultivation base. She was trembling. The dignified Mother Een, who was a second-stage quasi-saint, was actually trembling at this moment. She could not understand. How could the omniscient old man have such a terrifying cultivation base? Didn't she capture and suppress the omniscient old man like an idiot many times? Could it be that this person had never used his true cultivation base before? Could it be that he deliberately allowed himself to be captured and played with by her? Damn it! This old madman has really gone mad this time. Let's put aside the matter of the 13 spines for now. The danger of this old madman is beyond my understanding. Pass on my order. Gather the whole tribe and prepare for the omniscient old man. He will be here soon. No one should underestimate him. This madman is not as strong as he usually shows. He is definitely not inferior to any ancient great cultivator. He has been pretending to be weak all the time and playing tricks on us. An order was passed to the entire Light Ant tribe. The entire Light Ant tribe entered the highest state of alert in an instant. Then the omniscient old man's eyes were cold and emotionless. He appeared in the sky above the Light Ant tribe's holy city, standing with his hands clasped behind his back. He looked down on the common people like ants. I only have one request. If you can't fulfill it, all of you will die. Give me back my junior brother. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.